The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ARTOFWAR5 to get a discount on your next order.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another super hype Art of War video. We are here to review the brand new Astra Militarum Codex. We have a whole new codex dropping into Warhammer 40,000 as part of the recent Deathcore of Krieg box set that Games Workshop just provided us.
Absolutely. I'm massively hyped because Guard is one of those armies in the game that they just look cool. You can place yourself in the game, you can be that awesome human, you could be the tank commander, you could be the awesome marshal on the field, and you lead those humans.
Absolutely. Travel to new and exciting planets, meet new and exciting Xenos, and kill them.
You have to kill them. You have to kill them. You have to be the hammer of the emperor.
Step 3 is important. But I'm really excited. Astra Militarum are one of my favorite armies. I love the gas mask aesthetic of all these new Krieg models. So getting that new Krieg box was fantastic. Thank you very much, Games Workshop, for providing us with a copy of this codex.
Gorgeous.
So beautiful. I've spent some time with this already. That we can review for you today. So if you want to hear about all these new detachments, the new data sheets, and the changes to the old stuff, well, this is the video for it. As well, this is really exciting. For the first time with this army set, we're reviewing this codex with the correct points. So we know the points. We're good on that. We also have already, gotten that little day one FAQ to change just a few rules, things that make this codex make more sense. Every time they do this, there's one thing where they forget to put the range on a battle cannon, and they fix things like that.
Yeah, some critical keyword.
There's always
is
something
missing.
that you need to know, but now we know.
A war gear piece is not on the data sheet. I built it properly, and then I'm told it's wrong.
Yeah. So very glad to already have that.
Absolutely. And if you really like this, having the points, having the Codex FAQ, please do leave a comment below in the description, because that is going to be massive for Games Workshop to encourage them to keep doing this for other books, because this is the first time and they want your feedback on that.
Absolutely. So this is very important, and hopefully enjoy it. Of course, if you like this video, make sure you like the video, sharing with friends, leaving a comment, subscribing. These things are all really important for letting us continue to make this content for you. It helps us keep the channel going, and that's what we want to do.
Absolutely. But John, if you want to see more Guard content from us, including a brand new game with the Guard up against a foul enemy, well, guess what? You can head over to the War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial for this, and with that, you'll get to watch this game, you'll get to see some of John's other opinions, and you'll get plenty of other content for every single army in the game, and access to our awesome international Discord community. So please do join us. We would love to have you, and go Astra Militarum!
Absolutely. There's a link right in the description below as well.
Let's dive in.
Ready? Let's dive in. So we're going to start off with the army rule. This is voice of command, which everyone refers to as orders. Technically, it's voice of command.
Colloquially.
So this is completely unchanged. I'll go through it, but it's the updated version, not the published version. So it's the updated version that's gotten some FAQs. So essentially, you have officers. It's obvious who they are when you get to their data sheets. They can issue a number of orders. Order range is still 6 inches.
Yep.
You issue them in your command phase or at the end of a phase in which you disembark from a vehicle or arrive from reserves. That's the same as before. You can still issue 6 orders, and they are the same as before. So we'll just go through them real quick. It's move. That's plus 3 inches to movement. Vital. Fixed bayonets, plus 1 weapon skill. Take aim, plus 1 ballistic skill. First rank fire, which is improving the attacks characteristics of a rapid fire weapons by 1. And then you've got take cover for plus 1 save. That can't be better than a 3+. And finally, you have duty and honor for plus 1 leadership, plus 1 OC. This is identical to the old way, and that is great because this is a very good army rule. So we are not mad at all that this didn't change. We are happy this didn't change.
Yeah.
But no, as near as I can tell, there's no differences in wording, no minor tweaks. It is the same as currently played. And then we go into 5 detachments. Now, this is the first codex we're seeing after Grotmus. And so it's worth mentioning that the Bridgehead Strike Grotmus detachment is not in this book. But obviously, I am aware that it exists because we read it like a month ago. And so I'll be factoring that into some of my opinions on this book as well as the existence of that detachment.
Yeah, and Games Workshop in their, messaging about Grotmus said that all the detachments were going to be compatible with codexes for index armies.
Oh, it's compatible, all right, Richard. It's very compatible.
Simpatico.
We love this. All right, so we've got 5 detachments. We're going to start off with the combined arms. This is very similar to the old combined regiment. And so we'll start off with the detachment rule Born Soldiers. This is a direct copy and paste from the current Born Soldiers. Every time a regiment unit makes a ranged attack against anything not a monster or vehicle, you get lethal. Every time a squadron unit makes a ranged attack that does target a monster vehicle, you get lethal. Still ranged only, and it's just exactly the same as before. This was a great rule. It was even better if you found a way to reroll hits while doing so. Guard have lost one of their ways to reroll hits, but it kind of got side graded into something else, so we'll talk about that in the data sheets. Basically, the Tempestus Scions no longer reroll hits, so they don't get the lethal part of this as much, but now they reroll wounds, so did they even need lethal?
Probably not.
Probably not. Then we have our 4 enhancements. Some of these are new, some of them are old. We have the Death Mask of Ollanius. This is the same as before. For the officer's unit, whenever you are battle shocked, you subtract 1 from your objective control instead of reducing it to 0. So if you're on a multi-OC unit, this is a little bit better. So if you're on a battle line unit, they go to OC 1 instead of 0 when they're battle shocked. That's like fine, but frankly didn't come up very often. I never took this enhancement.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I don't think you're going to. Next, we have Drill Commander, another copy paste. For the officer's unit, each time the unit remains stationary, they get critical hits of 5+, which will obviously stack with the Born Soldier's lethal hits ability. This is yet another one that I have never personally used or seen used.
Stationary be tough.
Yep. Grand Strategist. This is a copy paste. In your command phase, the bearer can issue 1 additional order. That one you did take very frequently, often on a tank commander, occasionally on a guy on foot. I think you're going to see it a little bit less because of some changes to the tank commanders, but still a good enhancement. Finally, we have lost Kurov's Aquila. The Eagle has not landed. The Eagle has not landed. Vect is gone. In exchange, we have a new enhancement. This one's interesting. Reactive Command. Each time an enemy unit is set up within 9 inches of the bearer's unit.
Within.
Yes. The bearer can issue 1 order.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
You don't take enhancements in this detachment.
There's no way to react to move off of this.
No, it's not a reactive move.
Okay, yeah.
So they have to deep strike less than 9 inches away.
And then you
not move within 9.
Then you would order yourself +1 save, I guess?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, this is one of the worst enhancements I've ever seen.
Okay, cool.
It's fine.
Is it also 40 points like Kurov's Aquila?
I don't actually remember how much it costs.
We're gonna find out.
We'll find out for you. Frankly, you took Grand Strategist before, and that was it. And now you take Grand Strategist.
You took Kurov's.
I did take Kurov's. I didn't regret it, but that was an uncommon choice.
That's fair.
I would say that you will sometimes take Grand Strategist, but you're not really playing this detachment for the enhancements. And that's fine. We have a great army rule. We don't need to have great enhancements. And stratagems. Let's see how they turned out. So we start off with 1 CP coordinated action. This is a new stratagem. The stratagems in this detachment have changed a decent amount, which I'm very grateful for because they were kind of pants before. So 1 regiment unit and 1 squadron unit at the start of any phase, and until the end of that phase, any order affecting 1 unit affects both. So if you theoretically have a guard tank in +1 ballistic skill, and then a different unit in a different one, and you want them to have both at the same time, they get both for that phase. It's weird that it's for that phase because a lot of these orders work in different phases. Yeah. Move is only in 1 phase. Obviously. And
plus
then
1 weapon skill.
+1 weapon skill, only 1 phase. +1 ballistic skill. The 2 that work in the same phase are +1 ballistic skill and +1 rapid fire shots, which on a squadron you never need that. But what this is useful for is that this is essentially 1 CP given order to a tank that you ordered something else to. Like, it's very unlikely that you're going to hit a phase where both of the units benefit from both of their friends' orders. But frankly, I would pay a CP for a tank to get +3 move if I didn't have an officer order in range of the tank, but I had in range of the guardsman nearby. So there is some utility here.
Is +1 save multi-phase? Right?
+1 save is definitely multi-phase. So you spend this at the start of any phase, and it'll work for that phase. So yeah,
Okay.
so you've got some options here. I think this is a nice, cool stratagem. Next is 2 command point reinforcement. This is similar to before. 2 CP when your enemy destroys 1 infantry regiment unit from your army. You put into reserves. This is a once per game stratagem. As before, attached characters, no worky. So what's changed is this is now infantry regiment instead of regiment, which means no sentinels, no rough riders.
Okay.
Rough riders,
I didn't
I'm
see
sad
that part.
about. I like the rough riders.
No, but I just never saw that.
No, you didn't. But now a 3-man sentinel squad for multiple reasons is not going to be coming back. So infantry only, probably fair. I honestly wish they had done just like non-vehicle because I wanted to bring back rough riders because I'm on a bit of a horse kick right now. So those new models, man.
So this is mostly like Scions, Kasserkin.
Yeah, still plenty of value. Like this was a good stratagem before, and I'm glad that it stayed. Next, we have 2 command point flexible command.
That's very rare for a detachment to have multiple 2 CP strats.
Yep. Yeah, it is rare, but we've got 2 here. So this is in your command phase. You target any number of Astra Militarum officers from your army. They can issue orders to regiment and squadron. So theoretically, because in the old index, and I'll tell you right now, it's the same way now. The only things that can order vehicles are the tank commanders, plural, the Russ and Dorn commander, and then Leontus. And so you would sometimes run into trouble, especially if you didn't take Leontus, where you just didn't have enough orders for all your vehicles. 2 command points is steep, but it does get every infantry officer on the board ordering the big tanks. I think 2 CP is a little much. But
2 CP is
that's
pricey.
Mostly due to some changes to the commander data sheets is why I think that. And it'll be nice to have this in a pinch. Okay. But this is very much in a pinch, not a staple stratagem. All right. We're on to Fields of Fire, which used to be 2 command points and now costs 1 because it is a little different. So in your shooting phase, you target 1 regiment and 1 squadron unit that have not yet been selected to shoot. Then you pick 1 enemy unit, and those 2 units get +1 AP against them. That's it.
Okay, so it's a bit similar to some of the other pick 2 units. You get +1 AP against 1 target.
It used to be 2 CP after you shoot, your whole army gets it. Now it's 1 CP, including your first shot, 2 units get it. And it's 1 regiment and 1 squadron.
So you kind of have to... Regiment is mostly infantry stuff, and squadron...
Regiment is basically all the infantry you're thinking of. Squadron is all of the vehicles you're thinking of. Okay. But it's all classic guard stuff, right? Like Ogryn aren't regiment even though they're infantry, and a Bane Blade is not squadron even though it's a tank.
Yep.
All right, 2 stratagems left. 1 CP inspired command. This is the same as before. It's a great stratagem. In your opponent's command phase, you pick an officer. They give 1 order. This is great for affecting OC after you told someone to move to get onto an objective. Very useful. I would use this a couple, you'd use it once or twice a game, but it's very impactful when you used it because almost always when you spend this, it's, oops, your primary is lower than you wanted. That is very worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So for me, Inspiring Command, I'm glad to see it back. I still think it's great. You could also use it on the to add a save in a pinch, which I did on occasion. It's just a good utility stratagem, so I'm happy to see it back. And then finally, we have Stalwart Protector. This is new. 1 CP in your opponent's shooting phase after an enemy has selected its targets. You pick 1 Astra Militarum vehicle, not one that has been targeted. You just pick a vehicle after your opponent shoots. Until the end of the phase, each time your opponent shoots at an infantry model, if it is partially blocked by this vehicle that you targeted, they get the benefits of cover. So basically, it's 1 CP, turn a tank silhouette into gives cover. Interesting.
Covers everywhere.
Covers everywhere. 2, there's already a 1 CP given infantry unit cover. It's called Go to Ground.
Fair.
So...
And you get an invuln.
And you get a 6 of invuln. So, like, for me, that's like a little bit of a, like,
That's a nothing burger.
It's a nothing burger right there. So we lost a couple stratagems. Just to highlight on the ones we lost. We lost 1 CP plus 1 to hit with indirect weapons. That's fine because you can't hit better than 4s anyway. So bye. And then we lost 2 CP minus 1 damage on vehicles in exchange for gaining. Oh, and we lost one more. Let's see. We gained. Oh, right. We lost 1 CP, shoot something with infantry, make it minus 1 to hit. I went 9 games at Worlds without using that stratagem once.
I didn't even know that was a stratagem.
Totally fine. It didn't work on anything big. It only worked on other infantry. It's like when I shoot my infantry at your infantry, they get minus 1 to hit. Yeah, I never used it. So I lost 3 stratagems, 2 of which literally were worthless. Then you lose the minus 1 damage, which was rare but nice when you had it. Mm-hmm. And you gain a cool utility with orders, a different niche utility with orders, and some cover stuff from a tank, which I'm never going to use. And then Fields of Fire changes. I wouldn't say Fields is worse. I like that it's 1 CP now, but it's worse, but 1 CP.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
So I see that as a side grade, not a downgrade.
Especially in a world where you might not always take Leontus, then this becomes more valuable being 1 CP rather than 2.
Yeah, I actually found that my CP economy was a little tight when I was fieldsing every turn, just to get like those last, like just to get like a tank or 2 better AP. I think Fields of Fire is maybe a side grade, maybe a mild buff. Definitely not a nerf though. Yeah. So this is still a very good detachment because the lethal hits ability is fantastic. We're going to see changes to guard data sheet, some of which will be beneficial, some of which will be negative. It changes in both directions really. This is still a very solid detachment.
Yeah, it seems like it still does roughly the same thing. And ultimately, the guard detachment relied more on the data sheets themselves and their synergy and power rather than all the additional rules.
100%.
So just getting the lethal, this is one of those detachments where the detachment rule carries a lot of the power.
Absolutely. But this detachment rule is still phenomenal. So I am not mad about this at all. So overall, the detachment, I'd say side graded. I don't think it got significantly worse. I don't really think it got better. You know,
we're going to see more of how the list might change based on the data sheet changes.
Absolutely, right? Like I lost 3 stratagems I never used in exchange for 2 stratagems I'm never going to use. It's like, yeah, okay. Like, all right, guess we're still here. All right, so on to the next. We have the Siege Regiment. So theoretically...
Let me just... Hold on, John. Let me just savor this moment. This is the first time John has let me touch this codex.
That's true.
Okay? I have not looked at any of these rules.
That's
I have
fine.
no idea what's going on, so this is going to be all my first impression.
At this point, I've kind of got it memorized. I could just...
I see you. All right. So the Siege Regiment. We've got the detachment rule here, which is artillery support. And it's got a bunch of different things here. So at the start of the battle round, you're going to pick one of these following types of artillery support. The first is the Creeping Barrage. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit that's more than 12 from every model from your army that is on the battlefield. On a 5+ until the end of the battle round, that unit is shaken. While the unit is shaken, -2 from its move, advance, and charge rolls. That's
not just infantry, just
and
it's a 5-up, but it is everything.
I have this rule in several of my armies, and it always is basically against infantry units. This works on anything.
Yeah,
interesting.
Anything more than 12 away from a guard unit at the start of the battle round.
Yes, interesting.
It is interesting.
Then Incendiary Bombardment. Select a number of enemy units more than 12 from every model from your army that is on the battlefield. Till the end of the battle round, those enemy units are scattered. While a unit is scattered, it cannot have the benefit of cover. The maximum number of units you can select in this way depends on the battle size as shown below, and for Strike Force, which is 2,000 points, it's going to be 3.
So pick 3 things at the start of the battle round, they don't get cover.
Yes, as long as they're more than 12 from every unit, from every model. And then Smoke Shells. Select a number of units from your army. Until the end of the battle round, they gain Stealth, and it's once again restricted to battle size, so 3 units for your 2,000 point battle.
As a quick addendum to that rule, which is very interesting, in the recent FAQ, the day one FAQ that we're getting for guard, the -2 hit to move, advance, and charge, only 3 units can be affected by that.
Okay.
So it's essentially the first 3 5-ups you roll. So roll in the order you want to see it.
Yeah, most important.
Roll most important stuff first. But only 3 units can be affected by that, even though it is on a 5-up only. So you roll until you get 3 5s.
Yep. Very interesting.
Yeah, I like that that's how they did artillery. Because if the detachment rule was indirect weapons, ignore the indirect penalty. That would be like strong and so boring. I like this better.
Artillery this helps either give you a little bit more defense or debuffs the enemy in ways that guard wants to do.
I think smoke shells is quite good. Just pick 3 tanks and they get
Stealth
stealth.
is fantastic.
Yeah, that's very strong. And because of the limitations of not within 12, I think that the smoke shells are the best one. But there's going to be some turns where you want incendiary shells to light up the sky before you fire.
Creeping barrage may be a little too inconsistent, but the times where you pull that off against a melee army that has to hit you that turn could be crazy.
Yeah. Well, against melee armies, it really is like, if I can shoot you, you're dead. And if I can't, and like, you're not going to shoot me enough for stealth. So you just click the button every turn and see if a Warden squad is randomly unusable.
Yeah. Seriously.
It also...
-2 to
I know. If you
move, advance, and charge.
Yeah, if I just like point at 3 Warden units and roll 2 5s, like, sorry, try again next turn. Oh, well. I would have liked that recently.
Yeah.
Very interesting detachment roll. The fact that it's battle round, not command phase, I don't know if that's better or worse. Because it's funny because, you know, if I'm going first, it's kind of the same thing as being command phase.
It's the old orc conundrum.
If I'm going second, though, it's not bad to point at 3 of my opponent's units and say, they don't have cover. You want to step out? Or just be like, ooh, wow, you're going first. Let's see if I can slow down all your units that are trying to contain turn 1. Dink, dink, dink. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So it's a bit predictive, but it's also trying to dictate what your opponent actually wants to do.
Yeah.
So,
it's an interesting roll.
yeah. Then we got the enhancements here. Eager Advance is the first one. It goes on an infantry officer. While the bear is leading a regiment unit, that unit has Scout 6. Helps the unit get up the battlefield.
Yeah, I like that.
Then Flash Grenades. Infantry officer only as well. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch to shoot at the bear's unit.
That's really good in the Scion detachment. It's going to be good here too.
Yep. And then a Legacy Sidearm, also infantry officer. Oh yeah, this is it, baby.
Yep, it's the
you
relic.
came for this one. Add 2 to the attack's characteristic bear's pistols.
We're back. We're back to relic pistols.
Somebody
folks.
at Games Workshop. I love that they named it Legacy because it's a legacy.
It is. It's a legacy pistol. Why are we back to relic pistols?
If you're wondering why we're making a big deal about this, there used to be in most armies some sort of random pistol weapon that
Always
was
terrible.
still bad.
Always bad.
They wasted a slot on it.
And they're doing it again.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. It's like 10 points, but you're just not
It's 10 points. I think this should be 5 points. I think this should be the 5-point enhancement in the
honestly,
game.
yeah.
All right, then we have Stalwarts Honors, officer model only. While the bearer is leading a unit, when that unit is issued an order, it is also affected by the take cover order.
I quite like that, honestly. I think that one's quite good.
And it also is not just infantry officers. So officer model, can that be the tanks?
Yes, but take cover is meaningless on tanks because it caps it at 3 up.
Oh, okay. It does cap.
Yeah, so
I forgot that part.
You're only going to do that on a...
Fair enough. All right, then we got the stratagems here. Trench Fighters is the first one. It's used in the fight phase after an enemy unit has selected targets. You're picking an Astra Militarum infantry unit that was selected. Till the end of the phase, each time modeling your unit is destroyed. If it has not fought this phase, roll 1d6, adding 2. If it's regiment, on a 4-up, they can fight on death. Is there any guard infantry unit that's particularly impactful?
Bullgryn?
On a 4-up, they're not regiments, so they don't get the +2.
Yeah, it's just a 4-up.
Yeah, it's
The best guard melee model that could fight on death in a 2+ is the new combat engineers, who, if you choose not to have guns, are 2 attacks at 401, weapon skill 4.
solid.
Yeah, we're gonna choose the guns.
Yeah, I don't think that's getting used.
We're gonna choose the guns.
2 CP, over the top.
Oh boy.
Great title.
Oh boy.
Start of your command phase, you pick an infantry officer model from your army. Till the end of the phase, when your model issues the move order, it can issue that order to any number of eligible friendly infantry units, regardless of range to your model. So it's infinite move, and doesn't matter about range.
Correct. But it still prevents you from getting other orders. So you just get move on all the infantry on the table. So here's the question. How many infantry am I putting on the table that are going to be out of range of an officer and need move?
And also start a command phase, so nothing
not
in
transports.
Yeah,
No, it's not many.
2 CP.
2 CP,
Are you
not
kidding me?
2 CP.
Are you kidding me?
2 CP should be move in addition to any other order they have.
2 CP, move your army, maybe.
Yeah, but
I'll consider that.
No, but like you can just order them anyways because you have officers. It's not like you're taking a no officer army and then spending the stratagem. Like that's not what we're doing here.
No. All right. Flare Burst, 1 CP, your shooting phase, 1 Astra Militarum character unit from your army that hasn't been selected yet. Till the end of the phase, each time your unit makes an attack that targets a visible enemy unit within 12, you can reroll the hits.
That's just character.
Yes.
Not infantry.
Yes, it can be used on a tank commander.
Or a Rogal Dorn commander.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
There's a Rogal Dorn commander in here.
So, yeah, but you have to be within 12, and then you get the reroll hits, but it's not restricted to objectives.
So this is very good because you can use it on Scions, who now need reroll hits again. You can use it on tanks, the tank commanders. You can also just use it on any infantry unit that's at close range and just needs to do damage. I know we were a little like, okay, on the first 2 stratagems, that one's good. That's the one we use this one 4 times a game.
Bursting them flares, baby.
Yeah.
Then we have 1 CP Callous Sacrifice. Used in your shooting phase, you pick 1 platoon unit from your army that is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. What's platoon?
Platoon is a new keyword that they have introduced to this codex because regiment and squadron weren't enough. Here is what has platoon. Catachan Infantry Squad, Cadian Infantry Squad, and Krieg Infantry Squad. So it's, no joke, I've complained about this.
Stuff?
It is the 3 battle line units. If they had replaced platoon in this codex with battle line, it would have been the exact same thing.
Okay.
So every time you hear platoon, just think battle line because it's the same thing.
Cool. So your shooting phase, you're going to pick one of the 3 battle line units. Till the end of your phase, enemy units are not considered to be within engagement range of your unit for the purposes of selecting targets of ranged weapons. Till the end of the phase, each time an enemy model loses a wound, while that unit is within engagement range of your unit, roll a d6 on a 4-up. 1 model from your unit is destroyed after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks.
This is nice.
This is interesting.
There's always the argument of like, wouldn't I just fall back my dudes? Often, yes, but if you either didn't want to trigger a reactive move or your opponent is Exalted 8-bound, you will be very glad to have this stratagem all of a sudden. So it's a little niche, but I like it. Most of the time, I think I'm just going to fall back my Catachans, though.
Most likely. Then 1 CP, Furious Fusillade. Your shooting phase, pick 1 platoon, i.e. battle line, unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Till the end of the phase, add 1 to the attack characteristic of ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit while targeting an enemy unit within half range. Does this stack with the order?
It does. So you would have, if you're at 12 inches, you would have 4-shot plasma guns or las guns. The best thing you could probably put this on is like a 20-strong Krieg block with the command squad, because then you have 3 plasma guns spitting out an unholy 12 shots, plus 3 plasma pistols putting out an additional 6 shots, and like all
then
of a sudden,
use the reroll hits.
And then you use the reroll hits.
Okay.
So the fact that it's platoon only, which is battle line only, is a little annoying, but it's actually still pretty good, I think.
Is there a way to give Scions battle line?
Not in this detachment. They removed, so spoiler, they removed that from the way that you used to be able to do
Tempestus
it. It's now only in the Bridgehead strike.
What's his name?
The Tempestus Command Squad.
Command Squad, yeah. All right, and then the last stratagem here is Minefield. Start of your opponent's charge phase, you pick a platoon unit from your army, i.e. battle line. Till the end of the phase, each time an enemy unit ends a charge move within engagement range of your unit, roll a d6 for each enemy model in that unit. On a 5+, they suffer 1 mortal wound, up to a max of 6. It's a good way to chip a couple more.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's cute.
I think this detachment as a whole, it's a little too cute. It's a little niche. There's like 2 stratagems in here that I like.
Yes.
And then the enhancements are actually solid. I like the enhancements. And then the detachment rule is cool, but I think I need to play some games with it to really determine its value. But this is like nominally the Krieg detachment, which is interesting.
Yeah. I don't really see how you decide to take this over the index regiment. I'm going to be honest.
I agree.
It's tough.
It's tough to justify that.
It has interesting things going on, but like you said, there's not a lot of stacking synergy. There's infantry buffs, and then there's the artillery does their thing, but there's not a lot of like you really want to take these set of units. You kind of have to spread yourself out, which is not typically what Guard wants to do.
Agreed. We are on to the next detachment.
The next one definitely seems like something they want to do. Mechanized Assault?
Mechanized Assault. So this is theoretically a transport detachment. So let's keep that in mind. So the detachment rule is Armored Fist. I like this already. And that is that every time an Astra Militarum model disembarks from a transport, for that turn, it gets +1 to the wound roll. So when you disembark from transport, +1 to wound.
Does that interact with Scions and their...
This does interact with Scions as well.
What is it, Taurox Prime?
Yes. Yes, it does. So just anytime a Scion gets out of a transport, but realistically, you can also put Scions in a normal Taurox, so you're going to save 30 points on that one.
That's fair.
You're going to do that. But pretty cool. Then for the enhancements, first up is Bold Leadership. So infantry only if you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase and the bearer's unit or a transport it is embarked on is on the objective, you can sticky it. So this is sticky with the unit, even if it's in a transport. That's kind of cool.
That is very cool.
I like that.
Uses that all the time.
Yep, that is valuable and useful, and I will not be sad to have that. I like that one. Sacred Unguents. This is for an engine seer only. Yep, he's still in the Codex. If you didn't know he was there, and most people didn't. At the start of your shooting phase, select one transport from your army within 3 inches, excluding aircraft and excluding Titanic. And until the end of the phase, that transport gets reroll hits. So it's reroll hits with like a Taurox Prime.
Yeah.
It's fine. But
Does that have firing deck?
no.
Okay.
The Chimera has firing deck too.
Nice.
So like that's cool. Smoke grenades. So we have like smoke grenades, we have blind grenades, we got so many grenades in this.
Flares, we got all
flares,
sorts of stuff.
all kinds of things. Infantry model only. While the bearer's unit is within 3 inches of one or more friendly transport models, they get the benefit of cover and stealth. So essentially, while the unit is near a transport, they have popped smoke, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Finally, we have Vanguard Honors. Infantry model only. The bearer's unit can disembark from a transport after it has advanced, and if it does, it counts as having made a normal move that phase. And it can't declare a charge, so you can just advance a transport, disembark it from it.
Okay.
I will point out that is the rule of the Taurox. So that is a little... But if you wanted to specifically do like a Scion command squad in a Taurox Prime, I think this is where you would do it. And then we've got 6 stratagems here. Vox Relay, 1 CP, target an infantry officer that is in a transport. And until the end of the phase, so this is command phase, your unit can issue orders even though it's not on the battlefield. And it can issue orders to Astra Militarum transports regardless of distance to and from your transport. So this is 1 CP, an officer in transports orders other transports. It doesn't order anything else. Because there's no you can draw range from the transport, so you can't order infantry next to it. You in a transport order other transports. And that is pretty cool. They did, to my great regret, put an exclusion on there that you cannot order Titanic units. Because they really do not want you to issue order to Titanic units, and trust me, you won't. So, sadly. But this is cool. I mean, it's 1 CP. If you have like Creed in a Taurox, you just issue an order to 3 Tauroxes. It's nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes early game, especially, just getting move on a couple transports is valuable. But it may not be something you budgeted for because you probably only have as many orders as you need, like shooting activations from your vehicles. And so the transports don't always get the move. That would be nice. So I think this is a good stratagem for 1 CP.
Yeah.
Then 1 CP Rapid Dispersal, which is in your movement phase. You pick 1 infantry unit that disembarked from transport this turn, and it makes a D6-inch normal move. There is no limit, like you can't charge after this. So if you got out of a transport, walked 6, you could then spend a CP in D6 more inches. So it's essentially just a go a little faster. Sometimes for the purpose of contesting objectives or doing stuff, that is just useful.
Absolutely.
But, so you can theoretically do this even if you advanced, by the way.
So you can get out of a transport, move them.
You can't move them because that happens at the end of the movement phase.
End of movement. Gotcha.
Yeah. Still kind of nice. Then you have Clear and Secure, which is 1 CP in your shooting phase. So you pick an Astra Militarum unit that just disembarked from a transport, and when it targets an enemy unit on an objective marker, reroll hits and wins. So you have to get out of a transport, you have to shoot an enemy on an objective. Those are 2 not inconvenient hoops to jump through, but once you get there, it's 1 CP, reroll hits and wins. So it's 1 more hoop than I would have liked, but I'm going to be real.
The buff is good.
That's going to be worth it anyways. It's when you find the way to use 1 CP reroll hits and wounds, you're going to want to do it. No surprise there. All right, that's first half of the stratagems. Second half, Swift Interception. In your opponent's movement phase, when they end a normal advance or fallback move within 9 inches of a transport, excluding Titanic, I can just keep saying this, that transport can make a normal move of 6. So it's a reactive move for keyword transports.
Just the transport.
Just the transports, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you pop them out, you do a bit of damage, and then, all right, cool, the transport's hidden.
Yeah, I like it. I wish you could reactive move guys into the transport.
That's what I was
with the movement.
For, yeah.
But luckily, as soon as I had the disappointment, I read the next stratagem, which is hasty extraction. In your opponent's charge phase, after an enemy unit has selected targets for its charge, you pick an infantry unit that they charged, and it can embark into an Astra Militarum transport within 3 inches of it. So that's kind of cool.
Does every model have to be within 3 or just one?
And every model in your unit is within 3 inches of that Astra Militarum transport. It can embark on the transport.
Okay.
So basically, if you drive your transport up, get some guys out, your opponent tries to charge them, get back in. Very nice.
And you could reactive move the transport to just a different angle, but
Sure,
still within 3.
But you'll be able to measure and make sure it's within 3. So pretty useful, I think. Keeping your dudes alive is very valuable, especially if you have the more expensive ones like Scions or Catachans. And then finally, we have a move out. 1 CP at the end of your opponent's fight phase. It's the same thing. Pick an Astra Militarum unit wholly within 3 inches, where every model is within 3 inches of a transport. They get in the transport. So if you drive a Taurox full of Catachan on a long angle, you blow up a squad of 5 Eldar. No one comes and messes with them. You get back in the transport. Next turn, you drive the Taurox off. You get out again. You just keep doing that, moving around the sides. So lots of transport tricks. The +1 to wound is pretty cool.
Yes. There's some good.
There's some interesting things in here. There's some interesting movement tricks. There's a couple of interesting things in here. Honestly.
Yeah.
I still think you got to look at who does transports better. And is it actually still the combined regiment? Like, this is the question, right? Do you care enough about your guardsmen living that you would want to be hopping them back into transports and reactive moving transports and doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, because
I gotta play some games with this.
It's what, like 70 points for Chimera?
Chimera is 85,
Okay.
but a Taurox is 65. We are Taurox gamers now.
What?
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Okay.
You're only taking Tauroxes. You take 6 Tauroxes and then you're done. That's it.
Nice.
Yeah, Taurox Prime is 95. You take Taurox singular, like that is it. So this is interesting. Like there's cool rules. I like the get out of transports +1 to wound. I very much think that like 3 squads of Khazarkan in Taurox in this detachment every day of the week.
Yeah.
And then honestly, you probably put some Scions inside of transports.
You have good infantry.
Because you take the more elite infantry, and at that point, getting charged, back in the transport. End of your opponent's fight phase, you kind of got ignored somewhere. Get in the transport, so you can drive, disembark again. All of that, I think, is worth it.
This feels like a flood the board type of situation. Your opponent leans heavy on that anti-tank, anti-elite, and you're just like, cool, here's like 100 bodies, here's 8 transports.
Yep.
Deal with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But the flood the board detachment is still coming up. You get the tank one. This one's pretty
Hammers,
cool.
baby. All right, cool. We have the detachment rule, which is Iron Tread. Each time a squadron unit from your army advances, do not make an advance roll until the end of the phase. You get +6 to your move characteristic, and that unit can move within engage range of enemy models, but cannot end that move within engage range. All right. So
That's kind of cool.
that's really cool
Yeah.
because you can combine this with move.
Yeah, so you can just say my tank is going 19 inches.
Now, how many assault weapons do we have or ability to advance and shoot?
Assault weapons? Actually 0.
Really?
Actually 0.
It's like Votan out here.
There is. It'll be the same thing where when you go through the data sheets, I'm going to find like, oh, cool. The shotgun on the Sentinel, not the las cannon, is assault. Like it's going to be like that. There's like no assault weapons in this book. However, there is one stratagem that's going to save your bacon here.
Here we go. Enhancements. Calm under fire. Vehicle officer model only once per turn. After the bearer issues an order to a squadron unit from your army, it can issue the same order to another squadron unit from your army, and it's per turn. So can this work on yours and your opponent's turns?
Yes, but there's no way to issue.
There's no way to do it. Okay.
Orders in your opponent's turn.
All right. Indomitable steed. Vehicle officer model only. The bearer has a feel no pain 6+.
You like that. I like that.
It's effectively 2 extra wounds on a big tank, or
or like 3 on the door.
Or
If I'm
one on the
honest,
door,
there's
yeah.
16 wounds.
Regimental banner, vehicle model only, +3 to its OC, which I assume will stack with a potential +OC order.
That exists. Yeah.
Just really say, hey, I'm going to hold this.
It takes a Rogal Dorn Tank Commander to OC9. Like, why not?
Veteran crew, vehicle officer model only. Each time a model in the bearer's unit makes a ranged attack, reroll, hit a 1. You're definitely taking that.
You're taking that.
You would want to be a veteran of the rerolls.
Absolutely, you want to be a veteran of the rerolls.
All right, 6 stratagems. We got Final Hour, 1 CP, your command phase, 1 squadron unit from your army that is below half strength, excluding officer units.
Mm-hmm.
Till the end of the battle round, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit, excluding one-shot weapons, have the hazardous ability. And each time a model in your unit makes a ranged attack, you can ignore any or all modifiers to the ballistic skill characteristic and to the hit roll.
I have never seen this many hoops in a stratagem.
I'm getting dizzy just reading.
Why? What?
There's 3 separate brackets in this bad boy.
I know. Who thought it was too much for the hunter killer to get hazardous? That's what I want to know. Like, what are we doing? I got nothing. So it's practically, it is 1 CP ignore hit mods sometimes. But the caveats of you have to be below half strength.
And you can't use it on the officer tanks, which I assume are awesome.
Yeah, which are the best ones. And you gain hazardous on all your guns for the privilege of ignoring hit mods on my tank that is almost dead. I don't want my tank that's almost dead to take hazardous. Where like I'd be willing to do this if I had like a 13 wound Leman Russ.
It might even be battle shock, so you can't reroll it. You know.
Yeah, because like
if it is battle shock, you can't use the strat. But
exactly. But but you can only use the stratagem on a tank that just had to take a battle shock test.
Yeah.
And it's already almost dead if you're taking this. If you're taking this, you are at a minimum a 6 wound Leman Russ. That best case scenario because you're 13 wounds. If you're below half,
but usually that's never the case.
The Leman Russ has like 6 guns. If you just make them all hazardous, you might just die. I don't think sometimes +1 to hit is worth it. Like, what is that?
I'm going to be honest here. I'm actually surprised that this isn't 2 CP because this is exactly the type of terrible stratagem Games Workshop ran to make it 2 CP. This is like the lore people who interfere with the rules. They did way too much nonsense here. I'm sorry, lore people, but you're off the ball here.
Just
this is crazy.
What? No, read me the text blurb. What part of this makes the guns hazardous?
What John means by the text blurb is the lore part that they put below the stratagem. Yeah. So even with flames licking through the interior of their vehicle, this crew refuses to abandon their positions regardless of the risk to their lives.
Why are the guns hazardous?
Because it's regardless to the risk of their lives, John.
No. I'm on a table with world eaters, man. I'm already risking my life.
They live dangerously. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
It's their final hour, okay? If they're not going to live dangerously, what are they doing?
I am sure at some point I'm going to realize that it's bottom of 5 and I have a 5 wound Leman Russ that passed his battle shock test and be like, oh my god, we're going to use the stratagem because I'm not on an objective right now, so it doesn't matter if I live or die. And it'll matter. But like...
And your opponent is going to pop smoke and ruin your plan.
No, they're not going to pop smoke.
Well, you're going to use
stratagem. I'm going to die and explode. Okay. Nice. There are other stratagems in here that are good. Don't worry. Like, just not that one.
What if you fail all 6 hazardous tests?
You take 18 damage, I guess. I don't know, man. Guess I die.
Blazing Advance, 1 CP. Your movement phase just after a squadron unit from your army advances. So then you benefit from the detachment roll. Then until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot in a turn in which it advanced. This is just auto-used every single turn, I assume.
Yep. That's
at least 4 times.
All right. This is a nice, clean stratagem with no hoops.
Yeah, because this is
just good. It's a good stratagem.
Is there any way to double up orders here where you can get the extra move, and +1 ballistic skill?
Asterisk yes, by putting a tank in reserves and bringing it out and ordering it after you've moved.
Interesting. Okay.
But on the other hand, though, just like saying, I'm not going to move 19, I'm going to move 16 and shoot, often good enough.
Yeah, usually. Tactical Withdrawal, 1 CP. Your movement phase just after a squadron unit from your army falls back. You are eligible to shoot when you fall back. Awesome.
Great. All right.
2 great strats there.
Yep. Only 2, but that's fine. We got two good stratagems.
And they're both
already.
1 CP.
Yeah, no, great. There are plenty of good things this detachment, just not the first stratagem. All right.
Crash through 1 CP, your movement phase or your charge phase, 1 Astra Militarum vehicle from your army that has not been selected to move or charge yet. Till the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a normal, advance, or charge move, it can move horizontally through terrain as if it were not there. This is awesome.
Fantastic. Because again, you can already you can advance through enemy models. Now you can advance through walls. Then you can shoot afterwards. What a great stratagem.
Okay, those are 3 real solid
There
ones.
is good stuff in here.
Furious Cannonade. 1 CP, your shooting phase, you pick a squadron unit. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit within 12, plus 1 AP.
Well, you are able to get within 12.
Pretty easily, or if your opponent just has to be in the center of the table,
Yep.
you're getting within 12.
Yep.
Plus 1 AP is great.
Yep. Another.
Does
We have several good
So
stratagems
question
here.
is, does this open up some of the other Leman Russ hulls that we don't see, where plus 1 AP becomes more impactful?
I would say yes.
Cool.
I would say yes.
Yeah, we don't have to get into them now, but just
I'd say yes.
making
There's
options,
some interesting things.
making things more interesting is exactly what.
Yeah,
a
not the
detachment should
Punisher,
do.
to be clear. That thing's not it.
2 CP. All right, this is the only 2 CP strat. Ablative Plating. Your opponent's shooting phase, just after they selected targets, 1 Astra Militarum vehicle that was targeted. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated, -1 damage. So here's the -1 damage.
It just moved. Just
moved.
migrated. And look at that.
This detachment feels...
After a rough start, you got 5 good stratagems.
This is a solid detachment.
Yeah, this
Very solid.
is another way to build a tank list. I will say the original detachment, the combined arms, is another good way to build a tank list, but these do it differently. This one is more mobile, slightly less damage, but it's more mobile, and it's noticeably so. And it provides an interesting reason to take it instead of it. So I think this is a very viable detachment. I think this is good.
Very cool.
I think people are going to take it because guard players love tanks.
They love tanks.
They love tanks. I'm going to play it because I'm a guard player, and that means I love tanks.
So if your tank gets wrapped, you can spend the 1 CP, fall back, and shoot, and just go over those models without desperate escape. Or you have to advance.
You have to advance to move through it. So you would take the desperate.
Okay.
Yeah, because the crash through stratagem is only
the terrain. Yeah. Okay. I was wondering if there's a way to get around that, but
no. But so you take the desperate. But
fair enough.
The nice part is you can wait to spend the CP until after you find out if you're dead or not. So that's cool. One left. This is Recon Element. So this one has Catachans on the cover, so you can guess that Catachans are what this is all about. These guys, their detachment role is Master of Camouflage. Astra Militarum Walker and Regiment models from your army have the benefit of cover. When such a model has the benefit of cover for any other reason, such as being wholly within a ruin, improve the save of models in that unit by 1 to a maximum of 3+. So the second part of this only applies to infantry because the walkers are already at a 3-up. But your sentinels, cover. Your guardsmen, when they're in cover, a 5-up armor save goes to a 4-up armor save and then has cover. Which is pretty cool, especially because this does stack with take cover. To get, so you essentially, a Catachan, just a dude, has a 5-up save printed. If you give him an order and shove him into a wall, he has a 3-up save and the benefit of cover. That is going to take an amount of time to kill.
Yes.
That's kind of cool. And then things like Scions or Kazarkins that are naturally 4-ups, they don't need the order. If they just touch a cover or go to ground, they are essentially a 3-up plus the benefit of cover. And that's pretty good. Now we have the enhancements. Guerrilla Honors, obviously. And this is infantry model only. After both players have deployed, you can redeploy 3 infantry units in your army. And they can go into strategic reserves. So it's the same redeploy that we see everywhere. It's good. Like, all right, I've got no complaints about this, but it's not crazy. But I think it's nice to have, especially if you are taking a lot of infantry on foot.
Yep.
Scare gas grenades. So here
More
we
grenades.
go. More grenades. Once per battle at the start of any phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. And this is infantry model only. If it does, select one enemy unit within 8 inches of the bearer's unit, excluding monsters and vehicles. They take a battle shock test. I don't know, man.
I feel like we should do the top 10 most complex rules. Complex and needlessly awkward rules.
Why is it once per game make one enemy within 8 take 1 battle shock
Because
test?
it's a grenade, John. You only throw them once, bro.
No, it's Scaregrass grenades plural. He has several. You could just do this beginning of the shooting phase and it'd be fine. It's 8 inches. And it doesn't work on monsters and vehicles. It's like once per game. I don't know, man. All right. It gets better. Survival gear. Astra Militarum infantry only. Okay. The bearer has the Scout 6 ability.
The bearer, not his unit.
The bearer has the Scout 6 ability.
That has to be a typo.
Brother,
Well,
I don't know.
It was not in the FAQ.
It was not fixed. So here's the thing. Catachan have Scout 6. Catachan have Scout 6. Most characters don't have Scout. The only characters with Scout are the Catachan Command Squad. So there is theoretical use of if you wanted to put a Commissar or a Primaris Psyker into a Catachan unit, they'd still Scout. Or if you wanted to put a Cadian Castellan into a Catachan unit, they would Scout. But in addition to the, shaking my fist about how this is only for the bearer, it means if you put this on something in a command squad, the whole command squad doesn't Scout. Because there's 4 dudes in the command squad who don't have Scout since only the bearer has it.
If you put a non-Scout character in a unit with Scout and that's in a transport, does the transport still Scout?
Nope.
Every
single model inside the transport is
Okay,
Scout.
so
Which is why you can't attach characters to Catachan because then they lose Scout. And also because the character's bad, but that's a whole other problem. Realistically, you're just not taking this. But in theory, if you wanted a Primaris Psyker in your Taurox with your Catachan, I guess you can do this. That is the upper limit of where this goes. All right. Finally, we have tripwires. This one's kind of cool. Each time an enemy infantry or mounted unit ends a normal advanced charge or fallback move within 9 inches of the bearer's unit, roll dice. On a 4-up, the enemy unit is stunned. While they are stunned, subtract 1 from the hit roll.
So shooting in combat?
Yeah. So if you move within 9 inches of these nerds, you might be -1 to hit on a 4-up. That's kind of cool.
That's not bad.
That's kind of cool. I would like to point out that this enhancement on, the 5th detachment in the book, the final one, is the first time we see the mounted keyword, and it's for enemy mounted only. So you can trip the enemy horses down. All right. These enhancements are here. That's fine. The detachment rule I actually quite like. That is going to make guardsmen take a long time to kill. We got 6 stratagems to work through. One CP crack shots. So whenever a platoon unit from your army is selected to shoot, you can use a stratagem. They gain precision at range. So platoon, let's remember, this is the same thing as printing battle line. So it's the battle line units. 1 CP precision is nice. If you have like a Cadian or a Ogryn squad that found a way to get some plasma shots in range of a character, you can just precision them out, bang, real quick. Because guard infantry shooting is not great for killing enemy units, but it's totally good enough to kill the captain out of a squad. Right? You put 2 melta guns and 5 plasma shots into him, he'll go to sleep. 1 CP, draw them out in your opponent's movement phase after they end a normal advance or fallback move within 9 inches of you. Make a 6-inch roll move. There you go. This is platoon, so it's battle line only.
So you can't use it on Scions.
Or Kazarkin or the good ones, yeah.
Okay, so it's the basic one.
This is the detachment where you take basic guardsmen boys. That is what you take in
bodies.
this. You take bodies. 1 CP scramble field. We're getting spicy now. At the start of your opponent's reinforcement step, you pick 1 infantry unit from your army, and it becomes an aura of 12 inches of don't arrive from reserves.
That's going to be annoying for people.
Yeah, it's going to suck for someone else. not me. It's going to suck for them, though.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Yeah, you take 20 Kriegers and you stretch them across your front line. You say, all right, you thought Bridgehead Strike was better than a recon element? Watch this, nerd. Bang.
You're like, I'm going to come down 6.1.
No. Screen everything.
You're not going anywhere.
So that's pretty cool. I like that strategy. 1 CP. All right, this one is insanely complicated, so I'm going to make Richard read it. I'm just kidding. So
I'll
1
happily do
CP,
it.
no, at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. This took me 2 days to figure out what this did. 1 Astra Militarum infantry or Astra Militarum mounted unit from your army. We found a mounted reference, folks. Until the end of the phase, your unit has the Feel No Pain 6+ ability. And each time an enemy model makes an attack, if your unit is the closest eligible target, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So it's 1 CP Courageous Diversion. It doesn't matter if your opponent targets them to get the -1 to hit. So if you stretch 20 idiot Kriegers with a Primaris Psyker out in front of your army, you do a 12-inch no-go zone, cool, and then you start your opponent's shooting phase, you say, my Kriegers have a 6-up feel no pain. By the way, your army is -1 to hit as long as this is the closest target. Doesn't matter what you shoot at. So it's like, okay, I guess I'll shoot the idiot Kriegers. And I'm like, aha, I have a 6-up feel no pain now. And then the Primaris Psyker gives them a 4-up invul, and then you go to ground and you're like a 3-up save in cover, 4-up invul.
That's going to be annoying.
6-up feel no pain. Yeah, and that's pretty cool. If my opponent walked within 9 of them, they might also be -1 to hit for my tripwires. I don't know.
Or you could react and move them closer to get more things in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because they have to make the move.
Oh, they have to make the move.
Still, it's kind of cool. It's interesting. I like that it makes everything behind the -1 to hit. That's kind of cool. So, yeah. I mean, well, you're -1 to hit for shooting them because of Courageous Diversion. Just 20 Kriegers with a Primaris Psyker, 4-up invul, -1 to hit, 6-up feel no pain, and just everything behind them is -1 to hit. Just everything behind them. And that is kind of cool. Oh, here's what you do. You put the scout enhancement on the put the scout enhancement on the Primaris Psyker, and then they go 6 inches forward, so they just like are the closest thing, and you like pull the button and say, cool, this is a 4-up invul on the 3-up save idiots. That's kind of cool. You can do stuff with that. All right. 1 CP Tanglefoot grenades at the start of your opponent's charge phase. 1 Astra Militarum grenade unit from your army. Each time an enemy unit selects your unit as the target of the charge, -2 to charge. This does not stack with any other modifiers. But still
good.
On an army that can have 12-inch no-go zone and reactive moves and -1 to charge, this might get annoying.
This is the tricky detachment.
It is. If you walk an Exalted 8-bound 1.01 inches away from my Catachans, I move 6 inches backwards. It's now 7.1 away. Then I click this button. It's now a 9-inch charge. If you just have like one big unit, that is deeply inconvenient.
It really is. A lot of armies don't have tons of flag keywords, so they're just stuck there.
Yeah, no, you're just like, gosh darn it. Like, this is gonna take forever.
I like how they took Tanglefoot grenades from Custodes.
I like how they just put the name.
Yeah.
Like, it's not disruption grenades, it's not smoke grenades, it is Tanglefoot grenades. Tanglefoot grenades are back. Tell your friends. Finally, we have Scouting Outriders. This is 1 CP at the end of your opponent's turn. Pick a mounted or walker unit from your army holding within 10 inches of a battlefield edge and put it in reserves. Yes, it's nice. Cute. So that's the detachment. There's like no damage buffs in here, but it is going to take forever to deal with all of the Catachans on the table. You
better have Ignore's cover access.
Oh yeah, if you don't have Ignore's cover, it's going to take an actual year. Yeah, you just put 260 bodies on the table and say, yep, they all have a 3-up save plus cover. It's like, oh, I'm a combat army. All right, this unit scouts up. You get close to me, I back up, -1 to charge. -2 to charge. And like, God help you. If you move 4 inches away from this unit, you can't charge them. Because they're just going to be like, and dink back. And it's like, And so you're just like left with like your Stormbolters and your Havoc Launchers trying to kill like 3 Catachan at a time.
The thing is, right now in this meta, there's not many Horde armies, or at least pre-Grotmus, there were very few Horde armies. The Horde armies had been nerfed. So if you just show up with a Horde army, most armies are not tuned to deal with it.
If you are good on a chess clock and you have a bunch of guardsmen, I could see this being quite good.
You have a back that is extremely muscular and strong.
Absolutely. You better go to the gym before you play this army. I could see this actually being a very strong army.
If your muscular physique is that of a Catachan, you'll be fine. If
you can find a way to battle shock them so that you can charge them like a normal army, that's bad for them.
Yeah.
But in a 5-turn game, there are not 26 factions that can kill this.
Nope.
I don't think there's 13. I don't know. I don't know if I like this or not. I think that this doesn't look very fun to play. But I think it's kind of good.
If there's a man to put it on the table for us and sacrifice his body.
I'm going to do it. There's a reason I own all these cards. Cool. I'll put this on the table. We'll put it into
If you don't want to do it, I'll do it.
Fine. No, I won't list out. We're going to do this.
We'll put this into the crew detachment.
Yeah. God. Do you ignore covering the crew detachment?
I don't even remember. No.
All right, perfect.
Oh, yes, I do. Farstalkers can do it.
All right, fine. Yeah, so those are the 5 detachments. Bridgehead is the 6th one, and it's unchanged. I really like the tank detachment as a new way to play it. The tank detachment seems good.
It's got good strats.
The index detachment, reskinned as it is still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, I think I don't know if it's for me, but I think some people are going to have success with it. Because if you just are walling off objectives with essentially OC4 idiots and just like 260 of them, it's like what are you actually going to do about that? The damage up in that detachment is like negligible. But if you can't kill all the idiots, you do lose.
What infiltrates for guard?
Rattlings.
I think you need them in that detachment.
Yep.
Just to start the pace.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You infiltrate them, and then you also have a redeploy of your own if you need to, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You got a lot of scout on all the Catachan you're going to take, but yeah, it's a wild detachment. It's very interesting, but I think you'll take it legitimately. So that is all of that. Now we do have the data sheets that we're going to go through as well. There were a noticeable amount of changes to these new guard data sheets, so we're going to try to go through them as well. Credit to Games Workshop, we have the release points.
Yes.
For
Thank
this.
God.
Thank goodness.
So your coda, you're just going to be able to play it.
Yep, you can just play it. If you get this with the Krieg box set, it isn't on a shelf yet. You don't have to worry about trying to explain to your buddy, well, I know they used to be 2 wounds, but my Sanguinary Guard are still actually 16 points a model. It's like, no, we have the new points. It's
They're
fine.
definitely not.
So Lord Solar is unchanged. He is actually unchanged, which means he's back to ordering 3 Astra Militarum units. I personally expect the balanced data slate to override this, and he'll be right back to Regiment Squadron. So I don't think he's changed at all. Other than that, his data sheet is identical. He still is a 3-order issuing guy. I think that's less valuable than before, and we'll kind of see when we get to some of their data sheets. I think he's out of lists.
Is he still 150 now with the newest points?
He's 150 latest points.
He's pricey now.
Then we go to Ursula Creed, who has had multiple changes. First, she's up 10 points. She's now 65 instead of 55. Second, her free stratagem is no longer in the player turn. It is now in the battle round, which is back to what it was at the beginning of the edition. I don't know how we got here because like right now, like the index cards say battle round, the app says player turn. This is battle round. And she now issues 3 orders instead of 2. This is a common theme. We're going to see a lot of officer units give more orders than before. Another reason I think Lord Solar is kind of not needed anymore. So 65 points though for a free strat within 12 and 3 orders. I still think she's quite good.
Yeah.
I think you can very easily take Creed. If you're taking the units that want her orders, you can take her.
I mean, if you think about it, like if a stratagem's worth like 10, 15, 20 points and you're getting to do it multiple battle rounds, it's strong. If you have stratagems that make it worth it.
Yeah, I think in several detachments she's worth it. I think she's very worth it in Bridgehead. Next we have the Cadian Castellan. He is the same as before, but he went up 10 points and he got a second order.
So it's an extra order.
Never took him before. He what he does is he's a guard character with everything that entails. So, a 3 power fist attacks at strength 6. And he gives his unit fallback and shoot and sustained 1, which is nice. So like you could look at him as 55 points to attach to a Catachan unit. If he had scout, I think I would do it. And so maybe if you can buy him, maybe if you buy him an enhancement to get scout, maybe. But then you also have to look at it as, Catachan are 110. This is half the cost to give him sustained. It's like, not bad, but not the best either. So interesting. Then we have the Cadian Command Squad. This is 65 points, which is the same as before. And what we're looking at here is that they have changed their special rule. They no longer give ignore modifiers. They used to ignore hit, wound, damage, save, armor contempt, all modifiers. Now, while this unit contains an officer, if it's on an objective marker that you control, you get the benefit of cover, which is worse most of the time. But I will point out that in the Catachan detachment, in Recon element, having 3 squads that are just like 25 dudes always in cover, not actually bad.
No.
That's kind of interesting.
Especially if you're stringing them out.
Yep, if you're stringing them out, that could be useful.
Spreading across the board.
You gotta do it sometimes. Now we have the new Krieg Command Squad. So this one will take a little more time on because it's a brand new data sheet. So the Krieg Command Squad is 6 models instead of 5 because in addition to an officer, it includes a Lord Commissar. However, that's just a lore thing because what actually happened is that the Lord Commissar is the officer and the officer is a 1 wound guy with a las pistol. So it's just how it has an extra veteran in it for everything that we care about. That's just a model blurb. So it's a 6-man command squad. It gives it the units the ability to use stratagems and benefit from orders while battle shocked. So that's kind of cool. Like if you get battle shocked, but there's a commissar in the unit, then you still get to use your rules.
That's super useful in recon element.
Yep. Yeah.
Very useful.
I agree completely. Yep. Because you really want those stratagems and orders, and that's pretty good. So I think that the Krieg command squad is quite interesting. It's 65 points, which is it's the going cost of a command squad, and it's it's an extra dude. So it still has, as does the Cadian squad. I kind of brushed over the war gear. It has most of the war gear you expect. You get one of a couple different things. You can't duplicate really on them. It comes with the Master Vox, which is still issue orders at 24 inches away, but it's got some new stuff. It has an alchemic counter agents, which is their medic. And he gives you, your unit, a 6-up feel no pain against mortal wounds. Yeah, it's there.
You got to remember it.
You do not have a choice to replace that with something else. You have a regimental standard for +1 OC, same thing as what Cadians
Awesome.
get. Great. And then you have Serbo-Scribes, which is once per battle, when your Lord Commissar issues an order, he can issue a second order. That's pretty cool. Just once per game, give out 2 orders instead of 1. Very, very nice. I like that. Other than that, it is just 5 veterans instead of 4 with a Lord Commissar, and a Lord Commissar is essentially just another officer guy. So it's cool. I think it's useful, and I think because Kriegsmen are one of the better of the infantry squads, I think that then the Krieg Command Squad is one of the better ones. Because the Krieg Command Squad can join Combat Engineers, the new Death Corps infantry unit, and just normal Death Corps infantry.
And it's platoon?
It's not those. No, the engineers are not platoon.
The engineers, but this command squad is.
It's not platoon. Oh, no, sorry, it is platoon. Yes, but it can only join the Death Corps Krieg. Okay, yeah. So you know what? I'm so sorry. It is slightly different from being just battle line. There you go. All right, so the command squads are platoon as well. Cool. And now I have to look. The Cadian command squad can join Cadians. Okay, so it can, yeah, all right. Fair enough. We have another new model. This is Lord Marshal Dreir. So this is the new cavalry character. I will point out now there is no alternate build for Dreir. So the fact that you can get an epic hero on a horse, there is no unnamed character on a horse, which is a bit sad for me. Because what's funny is that the model has an alternate build. You can build him as sword out, like sword in the sheath, las pistol out. You can build him in like 3 different ways. It is just Dreir.
It's just him.
Just him. He is a 10-inch moving mounted guy with T4, 4-up save, and 4-up invuln, 6 wounds, OC2, leadership 7. Notably, he moves 10. And then his combat is he has 6 attacks of 6-2-1, anti-infantry 4+. That's notable. And then his feet claws are 4-1-1, which is noticeable. All the Death Corps mounted are going to have that. His rules, he has 6 of Feel No Pain. And when he dies on a 2+, he stands up with D3 wounds left. And on the charge, he gives his unit devastating wounds. Which is, datasheet-wise, that's not bad. He is 100 points. Which is a little costly.
He goes in what, Death Rider?
Death Riders. Yeah. Not normal Rough Riders, only Death Riders.
Okay.
So we'll look at the Death Rider datasheet and how it's different from normal Rough Riders later. 100 is a little more than I would want to pay, but I acknowledge the datasheet itself is not bad. Stand up on a 2-up is a useful rule. Giving a unit dev wounds is a useful rule. He himself is anti-infantry 4+. Now it's a damage 1 weapon, so he's not cutting the stars open. Yeah. But hey, he could kill a custodian on the charge without it being anything unrealistic. Just like a 1 Terminator, yeah. And he has a las pistol. Again, I feel like 100 points is the wrong side of that.
Probably.
But
the model looks amazing.
The model's amazing. It's so good. And it's also on an oval instead of a big round base like Leontus, and oval is much better. All right, now we've got the Catachan command squad. So the Catachan command squad is the same thing. It's a command squad. You get your choice. It's 5 dudes. You get your choice of 1 weapon because this didn't exist before. It used to be a platoon command squad. That doesn't exist anymore. Now it has Scout 6, so it can scout when attached to a Catachan squad. This is the only leader with Scout. And all of their ranged weapons gain assault, which is cool. So this is how you get assault. It's this Catachan command squad. And that's nice. It's 65 points for a 5-man command squad. It does all the normal command squad things. That's it. So the platoon command squad is gone. There is no platoon command squad. You now have 3 command squads, 3 battle line units. They attach to those. This one can only attach to Catachans. So the only command squad that can join 2 units, theoretically, is the Krieg one, which can join Krieg Engineers or the Krieg Infantry. All right, Sly Marbo. He is 55 points for the same old dude. He has had very mild changes to his rule. He has one of those shoot at an enemy within 12 when you shoot something within 3 of him. He now can only shoot the thing that triggered the shot, so it's the same as Cypher. But he's a lone up. He can't be your warlord. He's 55 points.
Just a cheap lone up. If
He's
you
an
really
infiltrating, stealthy lone up who's not very tough or particularly good, but he's a lone up and not expensive. So here we go. Let's get to the good stuff, right?
Hell yeah.
Leman Russ commanders. Not a tank commander, a Leman Russ commander. This is, however, the same stat line for a Leman Russ that you'd expect on defense. It is still a 13 wound T11 tank with a 2-up save, OC 3, and leadership 7. It still issues orders at 12 inches instead of 6 inches because of its Voxnet rule, and it still shoots on death on a 2+. Here's what has changed. It can order 2 squadron units, baseline. Used to order 1, now it orders 2. It also itself is squadron, as was recently updated. That is a nice change. So it's just the same data sheet, 2 orders instead of 1. It does go up in points. It is now 235 points for this tank. Now, I do have to mention, while we are here, that there is a change to some of the war gear. The Demolisher Battle Cannon, which you will remember as a Demolisher Cannon, this is a Demolisher Battle Cannon. It does not get a Demolisher Cannon. The Demolisher Battle Cannon is D6 plus 1 shots at 14 minus 3 damage D6. You will see the same change in the Leman Russ Demolisher datasheet for obvious reasons. So when you put a Demolisher on a Leman Russ, it is 2 less shots than before. Okay. That was previously the only gun you took. Losing 2 shots is pretty darn noticeable on a D6 shot weapon. That is a lot worse. Now, you get a second order, you still have all the other guns to choose from. Did go up 10 points.
Now, when it shoots back on death, can it shoot at anything still? Or
it is still shoot at anything.
Okay. Doesn't have to be what shot it.
Yeah, it gets to shoot as if it were your shooting phase. So this does happen after your opponent resolves attacks and kills it. Your opponent has to kill it. They can't grenade it. Yeah, same as before. Yeah. If it dies to an explosion. I think the only difference is it now can't die to an overheat because it now has to do it when your opponent finishes resolving attacks. But it's basically the same thing with a worse Demolisher Cannon, a second order, plus 10 points. So difficult to weigh. Now, this is what I'm excited for. We have the Rogal Dorn Commander. So the Rogal Dorn Commander is the same Dorn stat line you know and love. It's T12, 18 wounds, a 2-up save, OC5. It also has a Voxnet, so it can issue orders at 12 instead of 6. And just like a Leman Russ Commander, it issues 2 orders. However, unlike the Leman Russ Commander, the Rogal Dorn gets the same guns as the Dorn with no nerfs to them in this book. So it is just shooting as hard as a Dorn. Its second shot is called shots. Sorry, this is its second rule. And this is that each time you activate this model, you can reroll 1 hit and 1 wound and 1 damage. Not or, and.
That's a good rule.
Now what the Dorn gets that this doesn't, because this is 25 more points than a Dorn for 2 orders at 12 inches, and the rerolls, you lose the once a game blank a save. That is a nice rule on this big tough Rogal Dorn. However, I think I'm willing to pay 25 points for 2 orders and 3 rerolls.
Yeah. So in the, what is it, the hammer, the armored assaults? Mm-hmm. Whichever one is the tank.
Yeah, the
hammer.
tank. Yeah, Hammer the Emperor.
Yeah. In that one, you can have the enhancement for reroll 1s.
Correct.
So he gets reroll 1s, then he's going to have another reroll to hit wound and damage.
Yes. And if he's within 12, he can be
full rerolls to hit.
That's the other detachment.
Okay, yeah,
that's the Krieg one.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Which is totally fine. Yeah, you can have one of these with a 6 of Feel No Pain, one of these with reroll 1s to hit. And I would slam.
You can -1 damage him.
I would slam that down, no questions asked. I think the Rogal Dorn Commander is just better than the tank commander.
It's what, 30 points more?
It's 30 points more.
It's a lot of
Your
guns.
plus 5 wounds, plus 1 toughness. I think your guns are better now that you don't get a Demolisher Cannon, because you don't get the same Demolisher Cannon as you used to. I think 2 less shots. I think 30 points, you just do it. You lose the shoot on death, you get more reroll efficiency. The Rogal Dorn Commander, in my opinion, is very good.
He seems.
I like this one. All right. We're going to go through the rest of these data sheets, of course, but some of them that have minimal changes, we'll just kind of say that they've had minimal changes. The Primaris Psyker, still a 60-point character. However, it did receive some changes. Its gun is worse. That's it. It's now D6 plus 1 shots instead of D6 plus 3 on its hazardous profile. I don't know who got burned by the Primaris Psyker that they wanted to make this data sheet worse.
Someone did. And
Someone did.
They remembered it.
Yeah. Nork Deddog is completely unchanged as near as I can tell. I read it twice to try to make sure. He is 60 points. Same dude as before. He's good. He's not great, but he's good. Gaunt's Ghosts, 110 points, completely unchanged. They were a staple in many lists. A lot of people liked Gaunt's Ghosts. I think that they've got interesting new play in a couple of things, like Bridgehead Strike and the all infantry one.
Because they still go back into reserve.
Yes.
And that's the rule you really want.
That's what you want. And they can still land and issue 2 orders, which is what you want. And what's also nice is that will work well with the transport detachment because you don't have a ton of ways to get orders after you get out of transport. Player orders are command phase, other than like be an officer getting out of transport. And it's cheaper to just take Gaunt's Ghost and point it to units. So good value on Gaunt's Ghost. They're still, I think, going to be as popular as before. The Militarum Tempestus Command Squad has gone up 5 points, I think. It's now 70. I think it was 70. It's now 75. The only change is that it no longer gives, if it's the Warlord, it no longer gives like +1 OC and bad line to Scions. That is a feature of the Bridgehead Strike detachment, not a feature of this data sheet anymore. Oh, there is one change I have to mention. The Medipack that the Scions have, and all of the command squads except the Krieg one. So the Catachan and Cadian command squad and the Militarum Tempestus command squad. If you take a Medipack, you no longer get a 6 at Feel No Pain. You instead heal D3 models. That is much better.
So much better.
So much better. Yes, it is. This is far superior.
Wow.
I quite like this. It's 5 more points. I don't care. It's better. I will pay it. Other than that, it's the same. You still give sustained hits to your Scion squad. This is great. If you're playing the Scion detachment, this is like auto take 3. If you're playing a different detachment, there are several where you would still want 1 or 2 of these units. Good unit.
Does the healing D3 models exclude the character guy? Or are they all characters?
Right now, it's up to D3 Tempestus Scion models, which is the non-character.
Gotcha, because he's a prime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you can heal the Scions in the command squad or the Scions in the
regular
battle line unit. The non-battle line unit, the regular guys. The Ministorum Priest is basically the same as before. It now has the option to take the Zealot's Vindicator, which is the Blackstone Fortress character with the Flamer Chainsword. So the Ministorum Priest is technically better because you now get a better melee weapon and a better ranged weapon if you want. Your choice. You can just have 2 better weapons or 2 worse weapons. So you'll take the Zealot Vindicator, which gives you a Strength 5 Flamer and 4 attacks at 5/1/2. But the reality is that you don't want to pay 35 points for a character to give you sustained hits 1 in melee. You just don't care. That's it. You can join a lot of things, and none of them are things that you want them in. Then you have the Tech Priest engines here, who at 45 points is still perfectly modest. He still gives gets Lil up while he's within 3 inches of a Astra Militarum vehicle. He's still in the command phase, blesses an Astra Militarum vehicle with heal D3 wounds and a 4-up invuln, which, I actually kind of like. And then if you kill a vehicle near him, he gets 6 attacks with his axe, which is definitely better than having 3 attacks. But he's
10 points cheaper than the AdMech one.
Yeah, he's the guy. I actually think 45 points, I could totally justify having one of these hang out with the Doran commander. Or like hang out with both of them, and like the front one gets the 4-up invuln. Oh, you shot the not 4-up invuln one? All right, we're going to heal that one, give it the 4-up invuln. And then, all right, you shot the other one? Well, that one was at full health. I think 45 points, you could do it. You don't have to, but you could. Commissar, unchanged. Break my heart. This guy still sucks. He is 30 points for an officer that gives you reroll battle shocks while there's another officer in the same unit. Yep.
So what's the cheapest other officer you can buy?
It's like a 65-point command squad.
So you're spending almost 100 points.
Yeah. And
Sweet.
He issues 1 order, but he can only issue duty and honor and fixed bayonets. And yeah, he's 30 points. He's the cheapest unit you can take to have a thing in reserves. That's what he is. It's the same as before. He sucks. Then you have Cadian shock troops. They're identical to before. Completely identical.
They sticky?
They sticky. You can take 10 or 20. They're 65 for 10 or 120 for 20. So you get a little bit of a discount on a big squad, which I like. They're identical to before.
Can you run them in 20s or only
You can.
You can. Okay.
You can, and you get a 10-point discount on a 20-man.
Gotcha.
I think yes, they changed the sergeant's autogun. It is now 2 shots instead of 2 shots and rapid fire 2. So I just lost rapid fire at So you just take a las gun instead. I don't really know why you're doing this. But that's not why you're doing it, because you're just going to do it like a plasma pistol. So that's it. Great. Death Core of Krieg datasheet. Mostly unchanged. You're still +1 to hit if you're below starting strength, +1 to wound if below half strength. You have the Death Core Medi Pack, which received a very minor buff. It still heals D3 models, which is why, by the way, the Death Core Command Squad doesn't have this. It's because the Death Core Infantry do. However, if you have 2 of these, because you're a 20-man, you now heal D3 +1. Before there was no benefit for 2. Now you get 1 extra guy if you're a 20-man. That is genuinely useful. If you have just 120 of these and you're just poking them out of walls and they have a 3-up save plus cover and they're just healing D3 +1 guys behind the walls onto objectives of being jerks, that's going to take.
It's annoying.
That is annoying. That is quite good. They have had some slight changes in the configuration of how they receive special weapons. It is incredibly complicated, but after talking to other people and spending about 20 minutes on it, we have determined that you can only take 2 special weapons instead of 3. And that's it. That's the practical change. They have 2 different, look at this. So for every 10 models, up to 2 can have this, but they're double asterisked and asterisked. And then there's a separate for every 10 models, 2 can replace with this. There's 2 different special weapon things. So that makes it look like you can take 4. But then the double asterisk, when you go hunt it down, is that you cannot select more than 2 of any of these options unless it contains 20 models, and then you can only select 4. So you lose a special weapon, because you used to take 3, now you can take 2 and a Vox. Okay. But if you take the Vox, you can't take a plasma gun or a melta gun. So you just don't take a Vox. I don't really know what we're doing there. Catachan. It is the exact same as before. It's a Scout 6 infantry squad with 2 flamers and a 10-man, but they have a new change to their rule. When they charge or were charged, they get +1 to wound and melee. They used to be +1 strength and AP. Now they're +1 to wound. I prefer strength AP.
Yeah, AP is useful.
AP is useful. But this is also now when they get charged, where before it was previously when they did declare a charge. Catachan are 65 for 10, 120 for 20. Krieg are 65 for 10, 130 for 20.
Interesting.
I do not know why that is the case, but it is.
They want people to play the Krieg.
But like they wanted, so they made it 10 more expensive for a 20-man?
But it's just better, right?
I think so. I think it is better. It doesn't have Scout, but I think you get the same weapons as Cadians, and I think the +1 hit and wound is pretty decent, and the healing. I think you still totally take the Krieg
I think they're the best ones, and them being only a bit
for
more
a 20
expensive.
Man, I think I'd pay the 10 points. Catachan are the same as before mostly. They're 4-up save, ballistic skill 3 infantry with a bunch of like meltas and plasmas. They do, however, have a change to their rule. It used to be that in the command phase you could select an order to benefit from, even if you've already received an order. Now, this is much better. Once per battle round, at the start of any phase, you can select 1 order to affect this unit until the start of your next command phase, in addition to any other orders issued to this unit by an officer model this battle round. So what this practically means is if you're in a transport and you get out, at the start of the shooting phase, you can say, I'd actually like to be +1 ballistic skill or +1 rapid fire shot. This is strictly a buff, because if you ever wanted it in the command phase, you could just do it in the command phase. Right? If you wanted it to be the same timing as before, you can just choose that. But now it works if you get out of a transport.
Yeah.
So Catachan stocks up because now they have a self-contained 1 order out of a transport that doesn't require any friends. That is big. They are still 110 points for 10 dudes in carapace armor with, 4, 2 plasma, 2 melta, 4 special weapons, and a melta mine. The melta mine does the same thing as before, and the sniper, it's the same data sheet as before, just with a better order mechanic. And that is a big deal. I think this is quite improvement for Catachan. I think you're going to take these in most detachments. Nice. We've got another new unit. This is the Krieg Combat Engineer. So the Krieg Combat Engineer is a 4-up save. They are carapace armor. They are tougher than normal guardsmen. They are, other than that, though, it's a guardsman, right? It's leadership 7, OC1 dude. They have Scout 6 as their core role.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool. There are no Krieg characters. There are no characters that can join them that inherently have Scout, but if you put a Primaris Psyker with them after buying it, the enhancement, and, you can do that, I guess. So, their rule is Grenadiers, which is once per turn, you can target this unit with a grenade stratagem for 0 CP. So you just get free grenades. Their war gear, the default is that everyone has a shotgun, which is 2 shots of 401. You could replace the shotgun with an auto pistol and a trench club. A trench club is 2 attacks of 401, and it's an auto pistol. You know what that is. In the 10-man squad, it's a 5 or 10-man. Regardless of the size, you get 1 model can replace this stuff with a flamer. So a 5-man gets a flamer, a 10-man only gets 1 flamer, not 2. Bit unfortunate. I kind of wish that was 1 for 5. Then the auto pistol, basically the Watchmaster gets a choice of a bolt pistol, hand flamer, or plasma pistol, and a power weapon. Okay. Then there's the remote mine. The remote mine is the actual reason you would even consider taking this squad, and is responsible for the most ludicrous price tag I've ever seen. So the remote mine is once per battle at the start of your shooting phase, select an enemy unit within 12 inches. On a 3+, that enemy unit takes D6 mortal wounds. Unless it's a vehicle or fortification, then it's D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. However, that remote mine is 1 per unit, not 1 per 5, even though you could technically model it as 2 per 5. It's 1 per 5, 1 per unit. Final answer, 1 per unit. 5 of them are going to run you 70 points. 10 of them are going to run you 95. So the first 5 cost you 75 points. The next 5 run you 25 points. It's 70, then 95. A 10-man is like, okay, you're 15 points cheaper than a Catachan unit. You don't shoot as hard. You have a funny mortal wound ability that is better at range because it's 12 inches, not 3. You don't shoot nearly as hard, but you're the same durability. It's weird.
Very weird. Like
most you get a 0 CP grenade, which is like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, most units that have double the number of models are close to double the number of points.
Not even right. Yeah. Clear. So the back of this book, which is obviously fake, prices them at 35 and 70, which would have been you take 3x5 without even blinking. Would have not even blinking. But 70 points for 5 of those is too much. The remote mine is cool. I mean, it's not 70 points cool. I don't think.
They throw 3 of them.
And that's the thing. But like, I'm just thinking, once I'm there, I'll take the 25 points to put 5 more idiots down.
Yeah.
I think a 10-man is the remote mine is funny. Maybe you take 3 just so that you can go click, 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 and just grenade and then mine, and just be like, yeah, that's a lot of mortals. Sorry. Magnus be damned, right?
Yeah.
I think the remote mine is so strong that you had to price him something stupid, but that doesn't change the fact that the remote mine is strong.
Yeah.
But of course, when you roll up and you like roll a 2 and you're like, I have now paid 95 points for 1 flamer and some shotguns. And you're like, right.
It's going to happen.
Of course it's going to happen.
But you're also going to randomly take 6 mortals out of nowhere from the unit.
Yeah, you're also sometimes Magnus is going to take 6 mortals to the forehead. It's going to like, Jesus. Like this thing's 70 points. Yeah. That's so weird.
It's really this ability probably should be. Yeah, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be that. It should be different.
It should just be less mortals.
Yeah, make it D3 and it auto happens.
Yeah, or like flat 3 against vehicles, D3 against anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. But interesting data sheet. The upside is huge, so like you still might take them. Scions. Scions. Scions no longer reroll hits of 1 and then all hits against objective markers. They now reroll wounds of 1 and all wounds against objective markers. When you remember that Scions just got a detachment that gives them reroll 1s to hit, which was their datasheet rule, you can kind of see that this was coming, but that's a pretty nice buff.
Yeah,
that's a nice buff.
Real wounds is fantastic.
This Scions went up again. They are now 65 or 130 for 5 and 10, which is noticeably more expensive than they were at Worlds. Like a 10-man is 30 points more expensive than it was at Worlds. I think in Bridgehead Strike, it's still worth it. And still worth taking a good number of them.
Yeah, I mean, like the original detachment where you really wanted the lethals to punch up. With real wounds now, you don't need any of that. They can be strong in multiple different detachments. Absolutely. But yeah, in Bridgehead, they're utterly fantastic.
Still great. They're still great, I think. So Tempestus Scions got more expensive, got better. Yep. I see this as a win. I think I'm willing to pay the 10 points for a 10-man to real wounds instead of hits. Really am. Aquilons, an identical data sheet. It's no surprise, right? They just got here. They haven't changed it. You'll note that the Codex will tell you that they deep strike at 3 inches, but we all know that means 6 inches nowadays. Still 110 for Aquilons. I think they're still quite good, especially in Bridgehead. I think if you're not in Bridgehead, you would only take 1 unit.
Yeah,
but
makes sense.
But they're still quite good. The Ogryn Bodyguard is completely unchanged, as is the Ogryn Squad. We can skip those. They're the same points that you know and love. So 40 for the Ogryn, 60 and 130 for min and max Ogryn squads. Bullgryn did change. They went to a 3-up save and are otherwise the same.
They were 4?
They were 4-ups before. You could order them to 3-ups. They're still 110 for 3 and 220 for 6. I personally think that the 3-up save does not save them. I think that because they cannot receive orders, they're overpriced. Because we saw that
they took that from Leontus.
Yeah, because it was 180 points for 6 Bullgryn that got ordered by Leontus, and that was probably too good. And then they went up 40 points, and then they lost their orders. I think with them losing the orders, they should go down in points, and I think until then, you're just not going to see them, because Bullgryn are good data sheets, but they're just not 220 good. They're still -1 damage, 6 of Feel No Pain, right? You can't make them too cheap or we'll have problems. I just think 220 is too much for them to just move 6 and not do anything.
Because you can't order them to be more efficient in combat, and there's not many combat buffs whatsoever in this book.
Basically none. You get a 4-up fight on death in the Krieg detachment.
They really would kill for some extra AP.
Oh my god, I would do such dirty things for a +1 AP. All right, we're on to the heavy weapon teams, except now we have a Cadian heavy weapon squad. So the old heavy weapon team is gone, and we now have the Cadian heavy weapon team. However, it's the exact same thing. It's a 5-up. It's just is the heavy weapons at ballistic skill 5. It's 2 wound guardsmen. Each time you target this unit with fire overwatch stratagem, you overwatch on 5s. But if you're within 6 inches of a friendly platoon unit, you overwatch on 4s, which is adorable until you remember that this is 3 shots. And you're going to take mortars because these things are 2 wounds, 5-up save. So your opponent's World Eater Rhiners are actually going to kill your las cannons if you poke them out. They also did put a bit of a weakness on this unit. Not only do they take up 2 spots in a transport when they embark as before, they also count as 2 spots for firing deck. So if you fire, if you fire 1 las cannon through the firing deck, it counts as 2, which is a little sad. The Catachan heavy weapon squad is the identical 50 points and the identical weapons. Instead of receiving the 4-up overwatch, you receive reroll hits and wound rolls of 1 when you target a monster or vehicle, which is much better,
much more impactful.
Because you can take 3 heavy weapons, order them to step out with take aim, and just say, hey, here's 3 las cannon shots for 50 points that reroll 1s to hit and wound. I am not mad at that.
No.
If you just have Creed and 9 las cannon and Catachan heavy weapon squad, you just step them out and say, here, 9 las cannon shots, reroll 1s to hit and wound, beep 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 beep, and that's pretty good.
No, it's relatively cheap for what you get there.
Yeah, it's 150 points, 9 las cannon shots that might die back, but also real talk, your opponent does have to actually shoot something at them, and not much.
A lot of long range stuff is their anti-tank, and it's going into this.
all the tanks that are next to them. So it's kind of funny. Finally, we have the Krieg heavy weapon squad. Noticeably, this is 75 points for 3 instead of 50 points for 3. Surely that's because these data sheets are better. That's correct, they are. So the Krieg heavy weapon squad, they are noticeably 4-up save, not 5-up save, and they move 4 instead of 6 because it's a little gun on tracks instead of a gun being carried by 2 guys. So that's kind of cool. There's also a 4th model in there, the Fire Coordinator. The special rule is while you have a Fire Coordinator, you get a 3-up to shoot on death. It's kind of cool. Now, what they get for these weapons are the Krieg Heavy Flamer, the Las Cannon, and the Krieg Heavy Stubber. So different weapons than the other 2. The other 2 have your normal Imperium grab bag of special heavy weapons, what you'd expect. The Krieg Heavy Flamer is 18-inch Ignore Cover Torrent, D6 shots, 5 -1, 2 damage.
That makes me interested.
If that was 50 points, I would have 9 in every list I've ever written. So, fair play, Games Workshop. That probably shouldn't have been 50. 75 is not cheap, but that's a cool heavy flamer. And it shoots on death and it overwatches. That's kind of annoying, actually, right? I mean, we also know that Elder is the next codex after this, so maybe some 512 torrent weapons, right? Yeah, let's kill them. Very interesting. The las cannon is a las cannon. I think if you're taking a las cannon, you're just not taking the Krieg ones.
No,
you're just taking the Catachan ones. And I'd rather have reroll 1s to hit and wound against big stuff than a 3-up shoot on death and cost 25 points more. And then the twin Krieg heavy stubber. It's objectively adorable. It's 3 shots, 48-inch range, 6-1-1, and it's heavy rapid fire 3 twin linked. So like at 24-inch range, that is 6 shots each. So 18 shots of 611 twin linked. Ballistic skill 5 means I don't think I want this because the flamer's right there and the flamer doesn't require orders. But that is interesting. It's a lot of shots for just a little unit. It has the same heavy weapon rule where it takes 2 slots and two shots out of the firing deck. Because again, if not for that, you would probably jam a Krieg heavy weapon squad into a Chimera and shoot 2 of the flamers at the top.
100%.
But now you can only shoot 1, so it's like, it's not that crazy.
The flamer profile is pretty damn interesting.
It is. It's very appealing as an arrive from reserves and fire. Something moves Overwatch, you shoot me, whoosh. Like
I quite like it.
I do as well. 75 points is not cheap for 4 guardsmen, but I think it's worth it. I definitely want to put it on the table.
So you come in, you burn them, and then you could Overwatch and then shoot on death?
Yes. Yeah, it's
75 points.
75 points. It's expensive for the defense, not for the offense.
Yeah, no, the offense is fantastic. Wow.
Oh, I mean, into Skitarii, this is a war crime.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Like, yeah, like what are your Rust Stalkers going to do about this?
I don't like it.
All right, one squad's dead. You moved? Dead. Go ahead and shoot me.
I shot you.
Shoot me. Dead.
Can you shoot anything back? Or?
Yeah, yes, shoot anything, not the thing that killed it.
It's really good.
No,
I think these are awesome.
I think so as well. As soon as this model comes out, we're going to get some extras from our good sponsor, Warpfire. More new models. We have the artillery team. So the artillery team is the big artillery team. This is on the Great Unclean One base, and it's a big gun with 3 guardsmen on it. So this is a new data sheet. This is T7, 10 wounds, 3 up save. It is noticeably infantry keyword and regiment. It moves 3 inches, but it's going to need move, and an advance roll to go through walls.
Yes.
So, it is what it is. That's fine. It'll sit on your back objective. It gets its choice of 4 guns, and it's going to run you 95 points, which I have not yet decided if that is under or over costed. I'm curious to hear what you think. Its rule is that after you shoot, you pick an enemy that was hit, and it takes a battle shock test. If you pick an infantry and you are equipped with the multiple rocket launcher, the battle shock is at -1. Otherwise, it's just normal battle shock. So we've got 4 gun options here. All 4 of them are indirect. So this is kind of cool. First is the heavy mortar. D6 plus 3 shots, ballistic skill 5, 8, -1, 2, blast heavy indirect. So if you order it to take aim, very easy because it's an infantry dude. It's going to essentially it holds still, it hits on 4s, D6 plus 3 shots, 8, -1, 2. Blast. Heavy. And like, 95 points ain't cheap, but it's not that expensive. And if you find I don't know if I like this or not, right? Like it's worse than a Basilisk because it doesn't slow something down, but it's noticeably cheaper than a Basilisk. But it's a 1 less AP than Basilisk as well. So interesting. Then we have the heavy quad launcher, which is 2d6 shots of, blast, indirect, fire, heavy, because all of them have that. Ballistic skill 5, 501, twin linked. I think I'd rather have d6 plus 3 shots than 2d6. And I think 812 is better than 501 twin linked.
Certainly is.
So I think the quad launcher is just not it. Then you have the multiple rocket launcher, which is the one that makes infantry take a battle shock test at -1 for the little that's worth. This one is yet again blast, heavy, indirect fire. It is d6 plus 3 shots, ballistic skill 5 plus, strength 2, AP 1, damage 1, anti-infantry 3 plus. I think unfortunately this is just too direct of a comparison to the heavy mortar, right? Like it's the same shot count, same 48-inch range because everything here is. And I think I'd rather be 812 than 211 with anti-infantry 3 plus. Strength 8 wounds every infantry on the game on a 3 plus, unless it's like a warden. But into wardens, I'd rather be damage 2 anyways.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's cute that you can do the additional battle shock against infantry, but it's not really what guard needs.
No, it is not. Finally, we have the siege cannon. This is the big one. This is only d6 shots, but it's still blast, heavy, indirect fire, so it's going to hit on 4s with an order and indirect fire. And it's 12 -2 flat 3. That's probably the one you take. I think the heavy mortar is interesting, the 812. And I think the siege cannon is interesting. Yeah. What I will say is that I've already built this because it came in the box, and I must compliment Games Workshop on this. All 4 heavy weapons are perfectly interchangeable with no magnets required. It is a very good looking kit. It is easy to assemble, and it explicitly tells you how to build it such that you get all 4 options, no hassle at all. It is very easy. I was a big fan of this. I don't know what's better. And again, 95 points is like, it's expensive enough that you don't just take it because, but it's cheap enough that you're not really that mad that the damage is very inconsistent. Because there's no rerolls on this. But I think a couple siege cannons I might actually take.
The case where I think you will more likely see this is in the infantry spam build. Because they're just going to sit back there, screen out your backfield while the infantry goes forward. And if they hurt any amount of the things that do damage that your opponent has, that means your infantry just survives. They're probably going to have maybe 1 to 3 resources that really blow up infantry. If you can hurt them enough with these, you probably just win off of that.
Yep.
So that's where it's worth the risk of, yeah, this damage is inconsistent, but it doesn't need to kill them. It just needs to hurt them enough.
Yes. I will also point out that in Bridgehead Strike, because a couple of these detachments benefit infantry, in Bridgehead Strike, all infantry gain reroll 1s to hit. So they do as well.
Yeah.
Which is...
That's cute.
It's not nothing.
Yeah, I like the siege cannon. Strength 12 is pretty impactful.
I think it's what you take, yeah. So the next thing is the Field Ordnance Battery. This is the double heavy weapon team. So it's the 2 mounted weapons that we got in the 9th edition launch box that you have never seen on a table since.
I haven't.
No, you haven't. So these are T5 6 wound 4-up saves. They're essentially the same as before. Their rule is that if they remain stationary and receive an order, all their ranged weapons get sustained hits 1. You now have a direct comparison between the artillery team and this. And you get 2 guns in each unit. The Bombast field gun is the indirect one. It's the only interesting one, even remotely. And that is 7 - 1 2. And it is D6 shots blast, heavy indirect fire, 48 inch range. Now, the interesting part is that this unit got 20 points cheaper. It was 120, it's now 100. And
so it's very close.
120, yeah, but now it's 100 versus 95. So it's 1 big gun is 95, 2 little guns are 100. Would you rather have D6 plus 3, 812, or 2D6, 712, sustained 1?
Probably the sustained, honestly, the 2.
Probably the 712 sustained. So I think that's what makes the heavy mortar not an option. I think you either take the siege cannon for the big gun or you take the field ordnance batteries. I will also say that just because they went down to 100, and there is now an argument for the heavy las cannon, which is 2 shots, 14 - 3 D6 plus 1.
14.
Ballistic skill 5 and heavy. So you kind of have to order it to ballistic skill 4, walk out and accept that you get what you get. It doesn't synergize well because you don't get the sustained 1s if you move. And you're probably not going to like ingress the unit to hold still. But if you ever play against someone who doesn't have guns and you get to hold still, it's hilarious. As well, it's 100 points for 4 shots, 14 - 3 D6 plus 1. I think ballistic skill 4 with an order is too light, but it's interesting.
Yeah. They have made them much more interesting than previously.
Yes. All right, we're on to my favorite part, the cavalry. Rough Riders are the exact same data sheet as before. 60 points for 5, 120 for 10. There is one change to the data sheet, and that is that they no longer ignore movement modifiers. So they still fall back and shoot and charge, but they no longer ignore movement modifiers. So it's a mild nerf, not a huge one. There aren't that many there aren't that many movement modifiers in the game that work on mounted. But when you find them, and charge modifiers as well, now that they've put a couple in this book, you'll miss the rule when it comes up, but it is otherwise the same things before. I really am disappointed. I'm just gonna kind of say it now, that there is no support for mounted in any of these 5, now 6 detachments. Just none. A couple of the stratagems that would have buffed them before, like going like reinforcements, changed infantry only, and then every stratagem that we went through in all these detachments were all infantry regiment or platoon regiment or something else.
And
there's like no mounted support.
Is there an officer to buff these guys?
Yeah,
the regiment.
You can order them.
Yeah,
you can just order them. So like the data sheet is good enough that I still think you take them. I just wish that there was a little way to add some flavor, but it's just a data sheet. Now you have the new Death Riders. So the Death Rider is also a T4 4-up save 2 wound mounted thing. So it's a horse.
They don't get the feel no pain?
They don't have the feel no pain.
Really?
Nope. No feel no pain. So they move 10 instead of 12. So they're 2 inches slower than the Adelan Rough Riders. In exchange, they lost one of the profiles of the hunting lance. So the Adelan Rough Riders have a hunting lance, which is your choice of frag tip or melta tip. The Krieg ones only have a frag lance. So they on the charge, they're D6 attacks of 401 lance, which is cool. The Rough Riders are the same thing, or you get one attack of 9 minus 4 D6 damage lance, which is the good one.
Yes.
So you lose the better of the profiles, but you still get the volume. In exchange, you do get a las carbine, which is better than a las gun because it's 2 shots at 18 inches, but it's still 2 strength 3 shots. You don't really get that much. And then they get a power saber on everyone, which is nice because, like, you know, a power saber is 3 attacks at 421. So whenever you charge, you get your choice of would you rather have D6 attacks, 401 lance, or 3 attacks, 421 not lance. I would say that's an interesting choice. I think the power saber is going to be better a non-zero amount of the time, but sometimes you just want the lance. But if you're going into like Eldar Aspect Warriors, I'll take wounding on 3s at AP2 over wounding on 2s at AP0. Yeah. And again, no reason at all am I thinking about the upcoming Eldar release. But, you know, hey, we'll see when we get there.
What's
their rule? The rule is kind of cool. So when you get within 9 of them, they can make a 6-inch reactive move.
That is why you would take this.
That is why you take them. I will say for losing the Melt-A-Lance, losing 2 inches of movement, and being 10 points more per 5, I'm a little disappointed that they cost more. The reactive move is cool. And that is
you're paying
very
for the
interesting.
reactive
You're
move.
paying for that reactive move. But worse in combat, slower reactive move, to me, that's like a same cost unit. Right? Like you would say, okay, Adelins hit harder and are faster, but they don't reactive move. So they can be the same cost. The Krieg ones are 10 points more. And when you factor in that you can give them dev wounds, that by adding a 100-point character, that gets a little expensive because 10 Rough Riders with Marshal Dreir is 240. I don't think I'm willing to pay 240 for that.
No way. You're taking this as a 70-point mission tool that flat 6 reactive moves.
Yeah, that is like what you're doing.
Because the AdMech version is 3 Cerberus Raiders for 60, that only D6 reactive move instead of flat 6. And I'd pay the 10 extra points for flat 6, personally.
And it's a 5-man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Death Riders are perfectly fine. I wish they were 60, but that's just my guard bias because I want everything to be cheap and free. But like the data sheet for Death Riders are still pretty interesting. I still love Rough Riders. I could totally see 10 Rough Riders, 2 units of 5 Death Riders. As like that's how I get my 20 ponies. Because like a 5-man of Rough Riders was never killing a vehicle anyway. You kind of did 10-man for that. So you're just accepting that the Death Riders are hunting their chaff, and you're just using power sabers and frag lances instead of using your big Melta Spears. But the reactive move is big.
Yep.
So I wish they moved 12, but the models are so good that I think I'm going to forgive them because I'm putting these on the table anyway. Ratlings are completely unchanged. They're 60 points for a 5-man and 100 for a bigger one because you never take a big one. But it's the same as the Kill Team data sheet that just came out. So you get in a 10-man, so it's the same as like Vespid. If you take 5, you get nothing. If you take a 10-man, you get like 3 things.
The special stuff.
You get 1 tank stopper rifle, which is a strength 9 AP3 D6 damage gun, which is cool, but it's 1 shot. And then you get demolition gear, which is the grenade skewered. And then you get a Ratling Battle Mutt if you contain 10 models. And a Ratling Battle Mutt, who is obviously the goodest boy in the Astra Militarum, since he's the only dog in the army that I'm aware of, once per battle, you get lethal hits. I have no idea why having a dog with you gives you lethal hits at range.
It's why a bird in the crew unit removes cover. It's just,
the bird is like spotting them and like telling them where they are. The dog is giving the snipers like lethal hits. Like, what? I don't know. It's cute. It's a cute model. I want to paint it up.
They have after they shoot, they move, right?
Yes. So same thing as before. It makes a normal move, and noticeably this does not have any limit on it. So if your movement characteristic is 9, you move 9 on this. It's not when you Overwatch. It's just when you do it in your shooting phase. You could definitely move a rat. Oh, JK, you can't move them anymore. That's why. Because Leontus doesn't order them anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have
All right, so whatever. You move 6, you shoot, you fire, and fade. It's cute. It's also the only infiltration you've got. So, like, other than Gaunt's Ghost. And you don't want Gaunt's Ghost to die to 8-pound. You do want Rattlings to die to 8-pound.
Yeah.
Armored and Scout Sentinels. Armored Sentinels are completely identical, but they're now units of 2, not 3. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2 instead of 1, 2, 3. So you're going to take less of them. As a person who owns 9 Armored Sentinels fully painted, I'm a little disappointed. It's not like I've taken in this edition, but I like to entertain the dream. Still, it's a T8 2-up save hull for 65 points. It is pretty good. You just can't complain about this kind of data sheet. Scout Sentinels are still 55 points per, and they are T7 with a 3-up save, so it's faster, but not as tough, but it's scouts. Their ability to give reroll 1s to hit to the army still works, but it no longer ignores the indirect penalty, and they didn't replace it with anything. It used to be ignore indirect and reroll 1s. It's now pick something with an 18 and Astra Militarum reroll hit rolls of 1. For 55 points, it's still perfectly valuable because you weren't ignoring indirect anyway, so like it's still just a good skirmish data sheet that I like.
Yeah.
And it's very cheap.
Remember when you were pissed about piranhas?
I'm always pissed about piranhas.
Always. This is better.
What? No, it's not. No, I was pissed about tetras. Tetras were the ones I was pissed about.
Oh, I thought you were pissed about piranhas too.
Tetras were too cheap. Come on. No, piranhas are fine. Then we have the Taurox. The Taurox.
How is this 65 points? Are you kidding me?
That's great. Yeah. I know.
What?
I need to get more of these.
What?
Yeah, it's a T8, 10 wound, 3-up save transport. It's like a truck with a twin-linked autocannon and a 3-up save. And it's 65 points.
I feel like they write the guard stuff and then they're like minus 20 points, just whatever you're thinking.
They've been fixing it one at a time. The Taurox is too cheap. I love this thing. Its rule is that you can disembark after you advance. This is the same as before. It is an identical datasheet, identical cost. But I will say that in the context of new detachments, flat 6 advancing a Taurox and getting out is different.
It's different.
And also flat 6ing a Taurox.
Ensigns reroll wounds now.
You're not putting silencers. You're putting Cascade in this. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean,
scout up, advance. Oh, we're going to order to move. Okay, this thing is going to
melt
move.
a mine.
It moves 12. So you're going to move the Taurox 21 inches after scouting at 6 through walls and models and then drop the Kazargan out. That's kind of cool.
Can you put the Krieg engineers in here?
Yeah, you can.
So you could just drop out 2 units of them and just bomb.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's expensive, but you can do it.
Yep.
The Taurox, however, is not expensive.
It is not.
It's not. So we like this part. The Taurox Prime is a slightly different data sheet than before. It's still like the same like stat line, but it now gives reroll hits against what it shot at. It used to be a Razorback where like it gives reroll wounds, but now that Scions reroll wounds, it changed reroll hits. So you still get the same thing, but I think you need that less because you reroll 1s to hit in the Scion detachment.
Yeah.
If you're not in the Scion detachment, this is definitely the best transport for a Scion. If you're like a normal regiment, I think you definitely would still take a Prime. They changed the Gatling cannon and made it better. It used to be 12 shots of 401. It's now 8 shots of 401 twin-linked dev wounds.
Nice.
Which I will take that all day because the dev wounds is what carries work in the assault cannon type.
Yep.
So we don't care that it's 2 less strength and 1 less AP than assault cannon. It's dev wounds and twin-linked. That's what we want. So the Taurox Prime pretty cool. The Chimera is completely unchanged. It's 85 points, same as it is now. It's a little expensive, but it's still pretty good. But the Taurox is right there, so you don't take that. You take the Taurox. That's pretty simple.
How's the Taurox 20 points cheaper?
Well, the Chimera... So here's the thing. The Chimera was 70 and the Taurox was 65, so you always took a Chimera. But no one took Tauroxes and people only took Chimeras, so they make the Chimera cost more. And now you only take Tauroxes. That's what you do in the Guard, man. We're going to go through all the Leman Russ data sheets. The Leman Russ battle tank is completely unchanged. The Leman Russ Demolisher lost 2 shots and is otherwise completely unchanged. I'm sorry. The Leman Russ Demolisher went down 10 points.
That's nice.
And the Leman Russ battle tank went up 5 points. This makes me a little sad. The Vanquisher is the exact same as before in cost and profile, which it's 145. It is cheap, but God, does a Vanquisher cannon never hit when you want it to. If it does, watch out. I mean, it's just a giant railgun with no rerolls. It rerolls wounds, actually. But the Executioner is the exact same tank as before. It's still 170. The Punisher is the exact same tank as before. It's still 150. The Exterminator went up 10 points.
This is the +1 AP guy?
Yeah, that's the one I took the world, so fair enough. But I'm still sad about it. I like this guy. Because the +1 AP, I think, is better in a world where you don't have fields. Because now you just use new fields if you're playing that regiment for the Exterminator and an infantry. And then the Exterminator gets a +1 AP, and then whatever he shoots at, everything gets a +1 AP against. And so I think that's quite valuable. Now, the Eradicator, which was 150, has gone up 20 points, and it has received a rules change, which is quite significant. So the Eradicator is, I think, the last Leman Russ. It's like the baby battle cannon, so it's the one that's D3 plus 6 shots of 712. So it's definitely like the worst gun, but it ignores cover innately, which is kind of cute. And of course, you can get a +1 AP in a couple different ways. And its rule is different. It no longer fires its blast weapon into combat without penalties. It is now -1 damage while it has the benefits of cover. So
That seems good.
if your opponent cannot strip cover, this thing never gonna die. You know, for a fact, I'm gonna put this in the armored fist, and I'm gonna go ahead and slap 2 CP -1 damage on, and be like, oh no, it's -2 damage. Shame you don't ignore cover, nerd.
This is pretty good.
That's pretty good. Like, the gun is not great, but it's still a Leman Russ.
You still
so
get
it still has
the sponsons.
Yeah, you still get 2 multi-multis, Lascan, Hunter Killer, Stubber, and like it's D3 plus 6 shots, not D6 plus 3. So it's a very reliable shot count of 7-1 to ignore cover. You just fire the gun, see what happens.
I like it.
Very solid tank. This was one that you previously didn't see much. I think you could actually see it now because that rule is very cool. We're going to see what the prevalence is of ignore cover in the meta. That's what's going to matter. All right, we have the Rogal Dorn. The Rogal Dorn is 240 points in the exact same datasheet as before. It was previously pretty good and not quite good enough, and I think that's exactly the same case as it is now because the Dorn Commander is 25 points more, and you're just going to do that.
Yep.
You're just going to buy the Dorn Commander, I think. 25 points for self-contained orders and a reroll hit wound damage is better than the Ablative Plating for blank a save.
That's fair.
I just think it's better. The Basilisk is the same as before. It's now 140, and it lost heavy. So it's ballistic skill 4, meaning it hits on 5s indirect instead of 4s indirect. So you have to order it again, and you just don't have the order economy to order a Basilisk. Basilisks are merely fine right now, not great, and they did not get better here. I think that's a noticeable enough nerf that it's the only slowdown you can shoot, so there is a home for a Basilisk or two. Because it's reliable slowdown shoot. You just need a 1 hit against enemy wardens and things. So depending on the meta, there's a place for it, but it's very much still a tech piece, not a real choice. Just a tech piece if the meta calls you to. Hydras, unchanged. They're a perfectly balanced tank, and so GW saw fit not to change them. They're still 95 points.
95 or 85?
95.
So they went up 10.
I thought they were 95 before.
No, they were 85.
Oh, shoot. I really thought they were 95 before. I mean, 85 would be ludicrous. Is it bad that I don't remember what my world's list cost?
I'll look at. I'll do the honors
stuff. Okay, they're 95 now. I thought they were 95 before.
No, I'm pretty sure they're 85, my man.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, if they lost 10 points, I'm sad, but so be it.
Yeah,
less than 100 points. But it is the same tank as before. It rerolls hits against fly, and it is 4 twin linked anti-fly 2+ shots with its autocannon. So like it's still just a good tank.
Here we go.
All right, find me the Hydra.
Right now, 85.
Okay, so it went up 10 points. That's a pity. Why would they do that to me? I feel targeted by this. It's not even that good. No one else took them. Only 16% of guard armies in the top cut included the Hydra. Like, why would you nerf that? They nerfed everything else, so fair enough. The next battery of indirect pieces, the Wyvern and the Death Strike are completely unchanged at 110 and 145 respectively. They made 0 effort to make the Death Strike a usable feature, and that shows because it still isn't. The Manticore has received noticeable changes to its weapon. The Storm Eagle rocket is no longer D6 plus 1 shots of 10-3. It is now D6 shots of 7-3.
Whoa, that's way worse.
But it's anti-infantry 2+.
So it's not a good profile to killing everything. But
but it can still mess up infantry, kind of.
Yeah.
It also has had its rule changed, not for the better. It no longer rerolls hits against 5-man and more units. It now gives -1 OC to something that it hit with its indirect weapon to a minimum of 1, not monsters and vehicles.
Sweet.
I think that is not very good.
Did it go down?
No, like 5 points. It's 165 instead of 170.
Sweet.
Yeah, GW knows that I have 3 of these painted like fully done, and therefore they're like, well, John, you should have painted other things instead. I mean, like really though, like indirect fire that's killing infantry is trying to kill the things behind walls that you're not interacting with. -1 OC to a minimum of 1 is actually irrelevant there, and you just have less rerolls and less damage and less shots than before. 5 points does not change it. The Manticore is not a competitive staple. The Hellhound is the same tank as before for 125. And all right, let's just look at all of these Baneblade chassis. They all move 12 instead of 10, and you can't give any of them orders because Leontus doesn't do that anymore, so I don't care. They might have changed in points. I don't know. Not gonna look. You can't move them on a table, and that just kills it. I'm so sorry. I know there's like treadheads in here. Like, hold on, I really wanted like the super heavy tier list. I'm so sorry. They're stuck at ballistic skill 4. They're
There's
massive.
minus to hit everywhere.
They're like stuck a ballistic skill 4.
Can you actually move them even on GW terrain?
Some of them, yes.
It's
But now
huge.
that you can't move it to get over the blue pipes and things, you can't.
Yeah.
But it moves 12 now instead of 10. All of them got 2 inches of movement gained.
They're gigantic.
They're huge. I don't see it as viable at all. Like at all. That's basically it. The only things left are the Aegis defense line, which changed to 0, and the Valkyrie, which now you can use its rule to get infantry out at the end of your opponent's movement phase instead of infantry with deep strike. This is still, frankly, a fake data sheet. It's 190 points for a flyer with
Whoa.
yeah, which has like a multi-laser and 2 and 1 missile launcher shot. So you just don't take it. That is the Guard Codex. I have mixed reactions to this. There are definite points of strength in here, and there's some things you can look at and say this is going to be a powerful list. I think the combined arms regiment or detachment is still quite good.
Yep, it still seems it.
I think that the new tank detachment is pretty good, and I think that the new infantry detachment, the recon element, is pretty good. I think the other two, I think the siege regiment and the transport ones, are a little niche to me.
They're flavorful for people who like that
Yeah.
style, but I don't necessarily think they'll be the most competitive.
I
But
don't
it's
think
possible.
Yeah, like I think it'll be worth playing with all of them. I tend to get games in with all of them if I can, but I think it's just not. I don't think that's it. But it's very interesting all the way down, honestly, because like then you see the data sheets and you say, okay, well, the tank commander got nerfed, but now we have a Dorn commander. Scions got more expensive. A lot of things got more expensive. There was not many points decreases here. But then the Scion datasheet's better. And the Bridgehead Strike detachment just came out. So like I think a Bridgehead Strike with Scions that reroll wounds now is better than before.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah, you land, you're +1 to wound, you reroll wounds, you still reroll ones to hit. Like that's really scary. I think that's phenomenal. So it's hard for me to kind of put a finger on this. I will say I think power-wise, there is going to be 2 or 3 very good builds out of this codex, including the Grotmus detachment, Bridgehead Strike. I think all tanks, all infantry, and Scions are all very competitive. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of synergies that you sometimes see within the book, like and how many like hoops there are on a lot of these rules, right? Like there is good stuff in here, but it's not all good stuff, right? Like I don't know.
I think
I really wanted rules for mounted besides the data sheets.
one of the things about Guard as a non-Guard player is that they basically have a rule for anything.
Yep.
And so when you can build a list, and a lot of those rules are on the data sheets, like you have access to, I can just put +1 AP on this target. I can strip cover from this target. I can make sure that things die when they need to, or I can dedicate these resources. You can get sticky objectives. You can plus OC things. There's all sorts of tricks. And that synergy means that your baseline data sheets that are solid are just very good when they have orders and combined with other data sheets. So
yeah, because they give you cheap units that are bad, but that get good when you stack buffs on them, and they're cheap.
yeah, and some of the data sheets themselves are just, you can put a lot of stuff in a list, and a lot of stuff with synergy is very good. So as a non-Guard player, I still feel like Guard is going to be quite scary.
I agree.
In the list that you mentioned, they have weaknesses. They can, oops, I did roll bad on this turn that I stepped out, and now I take too much damage back in return. But they can.
I got tagged.
Oops, I got tagged. There's not too many ways to fall back and do things. But on the other hand, they have a lot of screens. They have a lot of move blocks. They can play a contesty game. They can play a damage game.
Absolutely.
They have options, and I think that heart is very good.
Yeah, and I think that's very much still there. The Guard playstyle 100% still exists, and you can find a couple different ways to express it with these detachments. Honestly, again, like my biggest complaint is that there was no rules for mounted beyond the data sheet, and they just gave us 2 new mounted kits. I wish the Death Corps detachment buffed Death Riders.
That was surprising not to see that.
Yeah,
At least an enhancement.
Just like
it has the pistol enhancement, right?
Yeah, but that could be. He's an epic hero.
No, I'm
you
saying
mean,
I'm saying that could have been, does something for Death Corps units.
Yeah, honestly, or like I wish the fight on death worked on like mounted or infantry. Like, come on, we can let the Death Riders fight on death. It'll be fine. They're not platoon. It'll be on a 4+. Like it'll be okay. Yeah, but so like I feel like there's a couple like little missed opportunities, but there's still a lot of strength in this book. I think the tank detachment is probably going to be most popular out the gate, but I actually think Bridgehead Strike is the best one. I think the Grotmus Detachment's the best one, honestly.
Scions
are great.
Really, really
that
strong.
data sheet change for Scions is massive. Oh, we forgot to mention this. The book doesn't have Scions printed with Deep Strike, and the day one FAQ says that they do get Deep Strike, so they still Deep Strike.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
That'd be a shocking
That
change.
would be, I would no longer like Bridgehead if that was the case. Yeah, so interesting, just like having spent a couple days with it, I think that you can very much still build like the all-comers guard list, and then you have, which is combined regiment or Bridgehead, and then you have two different directions you can choose to skew. You can either skew all tanks or all infantry, and you've got a detachment for that. And then your splash units are still there.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of cheap options. Not everything is good, but there's enough good things in here that you can absolutely build multiple competitive tournament winning lists. Like I think Bridgehead Strike just, hey, tank commanders are worse, cut them. Scions are better, more of them. Bridgehead Strike, go. I think that's still really good.
The Taurox is really going to come into its
cheap.
own. What was it? The Leman Conqueror?
The Leman Eradicator is -1 damage if it has cover.
I mean,
it's a bear to deal with.
Obviously, the artillery detachment might not be the strongest because of some really garbage rules in there.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, picking 3 of those to also be stealth.
I'm just picking 3 Rogal Dorn tank commanders,
Or
giving
tank
them stealth, and if you get within 12, I reroll hits.
That is annoying.
That's it. You just take 3 Rogal Dorn tank commanders, they are stealthy. Next.
So I think there's plenty of flexibility. I think guard players are going to be really happy with this book because at the end of the day, yes, points have gone up a bit. Guard is one of the most ludicrously undercosted factions, the whole edition. It's like crazy how cheap their stuff is. I look at my armies, I'm like, what am I paying these points for? How is this real? And then you look at these data sheets and you're like, okay.
You got some cheap stuff in Guard.
They got some really cheap stuff, but they have a tool for everything.
Yeah.
I really like that. And it'll be nice that Leontus isn't an auto take in every list, so it gives you more.
I can't think of a detachment where I want him.
Yeah.
It's because the commanders just give more orders now, so you just don't need them.
The other thing about the detachments is most of them are not really CP hungry, except the what is it? The Recon?
Yeah.
One? That one's going to be probably CP hungry.
Creed gives you free stratagems.
But there's other ways to do it. So
yeah, I think you just take Creed in Bridgehead or in Recon element or in combined and just call it a day. But you see buffs to Scions, you see buffs to Catachan as well. I think Catachan are back on the menu, by the way.
I think Guard previously in the older index and before a lot of the points increases, they had a couple, just that's how you play Guard, is that you build this first 1,000 points is just done, and then you build from there. I think there's a lot more flexibility now.
I agree. I'm honestly mostly excited because I think I'm going to put Dorns on the table again as commanders. But I think 2 Dorn commanders in almost every list. Right? Like find a way to strip cover, buff the AP. There's a couple of them mixed into a couple different detachments. Bridgehead gives you a strip cover. Hellhound gives you strip cover. You get +1 AP out of combined regiment. You get +1 AP out of armored spearhead. So you
get the rerolls in there.
You get the rerolls, reroll ones in that one. And then in I think everything except Recon element has a distinct buff you could apply to a tank commander or a Dorn commander. Be it strip cover or +1 AP or +1 AP or reroll hits or reroll ones to hit or 6 feeling pain. There's a lot of ways to buff those tanks. I think that value is too good for 265 to leave at home.
Yeah, I think
it's longer range than a tank commander was by a good margin. That's going to add up.
That matters a lot.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I hope you Guard players out there are really excited for this book because I think there's a lot of interesting choices. And we went through most of the data sheets here, and a lot of them were has play here.
A lot of it's viable.
A lot of it's viable, and points can fix a few of the ones that aren't as viable. So that's always a great place to be in. And if you want to see more of John playing the new Guard with games, check out The War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, which you can click the link below in the description. And you also get access to content for every other faction in the game, as well as access to our awesome Discord community. John will be in there. There's a Guard channel. There's going to be tons of discussion and plenty of list ideas. So just... Yes, we're going to do a ton of games, but we're also going to do tons of other videos on Guard in the coming weeks.
I'm going to do some list reviews for all these new detachments coming up pretty soon.
Post-game recaps.
Absolutely. So make sure you check that out and the game that's already going live today.
Absolutely. And if you are joining us here on YouTube, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know how you're feeling about the new Guard Codex, what you're most excited for, which detachment you're going to play, and we'd love to hear from you. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support, and we hope to see you in our community. So long for now.